I had tasted the bitterness of failure more times than I could count. But the moment I returned home, a different kind of nightmare was waiting for me. My family was bound and gagged, held hostage in our own living room. These thugs intended for me to be their next victim. They swung their bats with lethal intent. But my fist was a hammer of judgment that shattered them on impact. The first attacker's face caved in under my strike. Watching from the back, the boss trembled in pure terror, unable to comprehend how a mere high schooler possessed the strength of a monster. Hours earlier, my father had been on his knees, begging for mercy. He pleaded for just one more month to pay his debts. But the loan shark was heartless. He declared that debts are paid in blood, even if it meant harvesting an organ in order to settle the score. He squeezed my father's shoulder with a cruel grip, claiming pain was the only language a debtor understood. Suddenly, he noticed my mother trying to use her phone in the corner. His eyes narrowed with suspicion. He demanded to know if she was calling the police, mocking her that it would be useless. Snatching the device, he saw a message from their son. Her frantic reply was already typed out on the screen: "Don't come home." A twisted smile formed on the gangster's face. He decided to skip the formalities and settle the debt directly with the couple's son. His henchmen roughly grabbed my parents. They begged for my safety, but the boss had lost his patience. He ordered his men to silence them, ensuring no screams would warn me. As my mother was tied up, the boss laughed darkly. He claimed he didn't want to scare the little boy away before the fun began. Suddenly, the lookout signaled from his hiding spot. The target had arrived. Outside the front gate, a young student walked toward the door, unaware of the hell that awaited him. Inside, a thug clamped his hand over my mother's mouth to stifle her pleas. Seconds later, I stepped into the hallway, walking straight into their ambush. With terrifying calmness, I took off my shoes and announced, "I'm home," as if it were any other day. Without a sound, a henchman lunged from the shadows with a baseball bat. The weapon struck the back of my head with a sickening thud. My mother watched in horror, tears streaming down her face, but I didn't fall. I slowly turned around and caught the attacker's arm in an iron grip. In a blur of motion, I snatched the weapon. I smashed the bat into the man's face with brutal precision. The henchman collapsed instantly, his body hitting the floor in front of the boss and my terrified parents. A heavy silence filled the room as the leader stared at his fallen subordinate. Confusion washed over him. He screamed, asking what the hell was happening. I slowly rose to my full height, shaking off the blow as if it were nothing. Rage overtook the boss. He pointed a trembling finger at me and ordered his entire crew to attack and kill me. A thug charged with a steel pipe, aiming to end it quickly. I dodged the strike effortlessly and drove my fist directly into his abdomen. My punch shattered his ribs instantly. The impact was so severe it threw his head back, snapping his body like a twig. Immediately, another attacker launched a flying kick. I caught his foot in midair, stopping his momentum dead. I twisted his leg until the joint screamed, then blasted him away with a side kick. But the assault wasn't over. An attacker swung a heavy chair from behind. It was futile. I hurled that man against the wall right next to the boss. The leader stood frozen, watching his elite crew get dismantled one by one. Panic set in, realizing he had no other choice. The boss pulled out a knife and lunged toward my father. He grabbed my dad as a human shield, yelling that he would carve him up. But before he could finish his threat, a clothes iron went flying through the air. The iron slammed directly into the boss's face with bone-crushing force. The knife clattered to the floor as he reeled from the impact. I didn't stop there. I grabbed the heavy object and slammed it against his head again, driving him into the wall until his head was embedded in the concrete. The tough gangster was reduced to a crying mess. He begged for mercy, screaming for anyone, to call 911. I ignored his pathetic pleas, standing amidst the carnage of his fallen men. Calmly, I knelt down and began untying my parents. My voice was cold as ice. "If you didn't want me to fight," I told them, "you shouldn't have been so poor in the first place." The adrenaline finally faded, my strength gave out, and I collapsed to the floor as my mother screamed my name, Sionu. Later, the hospital emergency room was a chaotic war zone. Doctors and nurses rushed everywhere, treating the flood of injured gangsters crying out in pain. At the reception desk, a sharp-looking man in a suit was on a call, observing the madness. Intrigued, he asked a nurse about the commotion. She whispered the unbelievable rumor. A single high school kid had beaten up 10 loan sharks who were assaulting his father. In a private room, the battered boss was furious. He ordered a hit on the boy, but his subordinate hesitated, revealing that the victim was in this very hospital. A sinister grin returned to the boss's face. He bragged that he had already sent the Great Bear to finish the job, assuring everyone the kid was already dead meat. The man in the suit froze. He overheard the name Great Bear and realized the gravity of the situation. He wasted no time. He demanded the receptionist give him the boy's room number, learning he was in room 202. Sprinting down the hall, his mind raced. The Great Bear was a main event fighter candidate, a true beast. This was the perfect chance to test the boy's potential. He arrived at Seo Nu Kang's door, breathless. He admitted to himself that he felt pity for the unlucky kid about to be crushed by a monster. Inside the room, the atmosphere was suffocating. Seo Nu stood face to chest with a gigantic, looming figure. The giant looked down, insulted. He couldn't believe he was called to beat up a mere child. "Nothing personal, kid," he grunted. "It's just business." A smirk played on the giant's lips. He remarked that Seo Nu was an interesting specimen. The boy didn't show even a flicker of fear in the face of death. Determined to teach this brat the true meaning of terror, the giant raises a massive arm to strike. But Seo Nu isn't waiting. He lunges first with a lightning-fast straight punch. It's not enough. The counter hit lands heavy, hurling Seo Nu violently onto the cold ground. Watching from the shadows, the observer shakes his head, concluding the kid never stood a ghost of a chance. Sneering with contempt, the attacker mocks the boy's insanity. He spits out that being fearless means nothing when you're about to be crushed. But the impossible happens. Seo Nu stands up. The giant can't believe his eyes. With eyes burning, the student scoffs. He can keep talking, because those punches were weak as hell. Rage explodes in the giant's eyes. He roars that this defiance only makes killing him more entertaining, and charges like a bull. Outside, the man in the suit feels the air grow heavy. He senses pure murderous intent and realizes he must intervene now. The room becomes a battlefield. The giant throws a haymaker, but Seo Nu weaves under the death blow, countering with a spinning kick that smashes into his jaw. Stunned, the man in the suit freezes. No one has ever managed to drop the legendary Great Bear before. As the behemoth crumbles to his knees, his mind races. This shouldn't be happening. He possesses one of the strongest physiques in the entire country. Humiliation burns through him. Outraged, the giant screams, asking if the boy really thought a mere student's kick could finish him. Silence falls as Seo Nu's leg arcs high, crashing down with a devastating axe kick straight to the skull. The man in the suit watches in paralyzed shock. Giving no quarter, Seo Nu descends, unleashing a torrent of punches into his fallen enemy's face. But the beast isn't done. The giant snatches Seo Nu mid-attack. Frustrated, he curses that he has to use his ultimate finisher on a high schooler. The observer recognizes the technique. Instantly, it's the bone crusher. Panic sets in. He has to stop this before the kid is snapped in half. Screaming in fury, the Great Bear declares that this agony is exactly what the boy deserves. The suit man sprints toward the door, yelling for a ceasefire. But inside, the lock is already set. The giant twists Seo Nu's body with bone-breaking force. Suddenly, the giant pauses. Something feels wrong. He used maximum power, yet, defying all logic, Seo Nu begins to rise from the grip of death. Confusion replaces rage. The attacker stammers, unable to comprehend how the boy is moving. His bones should be dust. Seo Nu doesn't answer with words. He grips the giant's face with a vice-like claw, hissing a dark warning. This time, "I'm crushing you to pieces." Desperation takes over. The giant struggles, but his strength has vanished. He wonders in horror why his grip has absolutely no effect. The answer is brutal: a headbutt straight to the face. Grumbling in pain, the giant realizes the kid's skull must be forged from steel. Relentless, Seo Nu lands another devastating punch, slamming his opponent's face directly into the tempered glass floor. The beast is down, but the rage hasn't faded. Seo Nu continues to pound the unconscious giant, until the man in the suit finally bursts in, commanding him to halt. Seeing the great bear out cold, the man approaches with caution, hands raised, begging the young monster to calm down. He quickly explains that making a bigger mess will only be harder to clean up. Wasting no time, he pulls out his phone. He reports a patient in room 202 with a head injury from a car accident, demanding immediate evac. Confused, Seonu demands to know if this suit is the giant's ally. The man denies it without hesitation. In fact, he stares at Seonu with a gleaming eye, stating he'd much rather be on the young man's side. Seonu stares back in disbelief, asking what the hell kind of nonsense he's spouting. Just then, a cleanup crew in hazmat suits storms the room. One member confirms the target's identity and assures them the evidence will vanish. The suit man asks if they can keep the great bear sedated for now. The medical team confirms the beast won't wake up. Suspicion clouds Seonu's eyes. He demands to know who these people really are. With a smooth smile, the man hands him a business card. He promises that working for his boss grants any wish. All Seonu has to do is fight. There's no hesitation. Seonu crushes the card in his fist and tells the man to get lost. He tosses the crumpled paper into the trash, making his stance crystal clear. He has zero interest in becoming a hired thug. Watching the boy walk away, the recruiter mutters to himself. He knows talent when he sees it. That boy's mind will surely change. Later, in the bathroom, Seonu splashes cold water on his face. Staring into his own hollow eyes in the mirror, he whispers a desperate vow. No matter how messy his life becomes, he will keep his promise. He will never become a gangster. The moment is shattered as his father walks in, demanding to know what he's doing there. The older man scolds him for moving around in his condition, but Seonu snaps, unable to hold back the frustration of whose fault this really is. Venom drips from his words. He mocks the so-called boxing champion, recalling the glorious offers his father claims to have had. He confronts the bitter truth. If his father was such a legend, why are they drowning in an ocean of debt? He presses the knife deeper, asking if it was too humiliating for a former champion to lower himself to running a neighborhood gym. Finally, the ultimate question lands. Is his father's fragile pride more important than his own suffering wife? The older man offers no defense, only commanding him to stay put. As the door clicks shut, Seonu is left alone with the bitter truth. He hates his father. The adrenaline crashes. He collapses to the floor, clutching his throbbing head, wondering if this nightmare is just a lack of sleep. He quickly realizes the agony racking his body isn't from exhaustion. It stems from a deeper wound, the burning hatred he holds for his own father. He can't stomach it anymore, watching that man get beaten down and humiliated day after day. Just to scrape by, it makes him sick. Every time a fight breaks out, his father is on his knees, begging the bully's parents for mercy. Seonu despises that weakness. He refuses to rely on a man with no pride. The worst part, his father acts like he's done his duty as a parent. Meanwhile, Seonu is left rotting in this living hell with no way out. As a miner, his hands are tied. He couldn't even land a job on a fishing crew to cover their debts. When a recruiter tried to scout him earlier, he brushed the man off with a flimsy excuse. To add insult to injury, the bullies haven't let up. In fact, they've only dug his grave deeper. Yet, despite the venom he feels for his father, he's paralyzed. He can't abandon his mother. He feels trapped in a suffocating pit of despair. A wave of confusion washes over him. Did he black out again? Why is he in a different ward? Sitting up, he snatches his phone to check how much time he's lost. A text flashes on the screen. It's time to tell you everything. Meet me tonight. Seonu freezes. What dark secrets has his father been hiding? Suddenly, panic spikes in his chest. Mom, is she safe? He dials her number, heart pounding. She picks up instantly, voice trembling. Don't come home, she warns. Those thugs, they're still watching the house. She assures him he's been moved to a secure room under a false alias to keep him off their radar. What about you? Seonu cries out. She rushes her words. She's hiding in a motel near the police station, but she can't talk long. Before the line goes dead, she begs him, stay in the hospital, don't go anywhere. Please, just stay safe. The call ends and crushing guilt descends upon him. This is all his fault. If he hadn't fought back, none of this nightmare would be happening. No, he can't just sit here. Determination hardens his gaze. He has to find her. He sprints for the exit, but his phone rings again. It's his father. He answers, expecting his father's voice. Instead, a stranger speaks. Are you Mr. Kang's son? Seonu stops cold. Who is this? It's an emergency, the man says, voice grim. Mr. Kang. He fell from a building. He's unconscious. At a chaotic construction site, workers crowd around a broken figure lying on the cold ground. Back at the hospital, the reality is brutal. Seonu stares at his father swathed in bandages, life hanging by a thread, kept alive only by the rhythmic beeping of machines. The doctor delivers the death blow. The surgery is complex. It will cost over 100 million won, not counting years of rehabilitation. The world crumbles around him. 100 million. He slumps into the corner of the room, utterly defeated. What can he possibly do? Desperation claws at his throat. How is a high schooler supposed to raise a fortune like that? Suddenly, a memory flashes like a lightning bolt. The recruiter. The business card he crumpled up and tossed in the trash earlier. Hope ignites. He realizes he has to retrieve it. He scrambles to his feet and sprints back down the hall, racing toward room 202. He bursts inside, eyes scanning frantically for the bin. He dives for it, tearing through the garbage. But the card, it's gone. Power leaves his legs. He collapses to his knees beside the empty bin, sobbing. I'm sorry, he chokes out. I'm so useless. I ruined everything. Despair consumes him. He doesn't deserve to live. Then a shadow falls over him, looking for this. A voice asks. Seonu looks up. It's the man in the suit, the card dangling from his fingers. Have you had a change of heart? He asks, his voice smooth as silk, tears streaming down his face. Seonu begs, if I work for you, how much can I make? The man smirks, win the tournament, and you'll walk away with 10 billion won. But honestly, you'll get rich and famous just by participating. Calmly, the recruiter slides a document across the table. Read it carefully, then sign. Seonu scans the paper, brow furrowing. What is this? Combat wing. The answer is blunt. A secret fighting tournament, the man explains, where competitors use special enhancers to unlock superhuman physical abilities. Seonu recoils. I don't do drugs. The man simply opens a sleek box on the table, revealing rows of glowing vials. He picks one up, the liquid swirling inside. These aren't your average street drugs, kid. This can give a dying old man the strength of a titan. But don't worry, he adds, setting it down. Using them isn't mandatory. Seonu stares at him, wary. Who exactly are you? The man adjusts his tie. I am Manhwa Kim, a recruiter for the VIP sector of the combat wing. Ignoring Seonu's shock, Manhwa continues, outlining the path to power. Once you enter the tournament, if you survive to the top 20, you can select a sponsor. You'll choose a VIP client. You fight. They back you. We work together to take the crown. Seonu grits his teeth. I'll do it. But I need the money now. He pauses, realizing the futility. But that's impossible, isn't it? Frustration boils over. Seonu Kang glares at him. If I can't get the money up front, why the hell should I work with you? Manhwa smiles chillingly. Relax. You need money for your father's surgery, right? And a safe house to hide from those thugs. Seonu's eyes widen. How do you know that? Without a moment's hesitation, Manhwa Kim puts an offer on the table that sounds too good to be true. He will cover every cent of the father's medical bills and provide safe housing while the boy fights for him. He drives the point home, reminding the young man that much like his desperate friend Seonu, they are completely out of options. Suddenly, the shrill ring of a phone cuts through the tension. The young man picks up, his expression softening as he speaks to his mother. But the urgency is palpable as he promises to call her back immediately. Seizing the silence, the recruiter drops the final weight on the scale. Not only will they pay the debts, but they will also provide absolute protection from the vicious loan sharks. Just as Seonu opens his mouth to ask how he can possibly trust such a shady organization, his phone buzzes again. He glances at the screen. It is his mother calling back. He answers, dread pooling in his stomach as he asks what is wrong. but his mother's voice is trembling with relief. She tells him the surgery has already been paid for in full and bodyguards are currently standing outside their home. Before he can process this, she adds that a man named Minsik informed her a safe house is ready. So she begs her son not to worry about her safety anymore. Realizing he has been checkmated, Seonu tells his mother he hired the protection himself. He instructs her to follow their orders blindly, promising he will be there soon. The call ends and the silence returns, heavier than before. One question burns in his mind. What kind of hell awaits him if the prize money is 10 billion won? Minsik Kim smiles coldly, explaining that 10 billion is merely the starting bid. He leans in, eyes gleaming with greed, adding that depending on the betting pool, the winnings can skyrocket, mentioning legendary champions who walked away with over 15 billion won. Seonu stares in disbelief, muttering that such an amount is impossible. But the man across from him assures him the underground economy flows deeper than he can imagine. However, Minsik admits that even that fortune might not be enough payment, considering what the fighters actually sacrifice. The truth is brutal. Most participants either leave the arena in a body bag or end up permanently crippled by the violence. The statistics are terrifying. In the last tournament alone, only 10% of the fighters managed to walk away with their bodies intact. He continues his dark orientation, explaining that their first order of business is to fabricate a watertight alibi for the participants' inevitable death. Seonu Kang repeats the words, stunned. An alibi for my own death? He questions how a tournament with such a high body count can possibly remain a secret. To this, Minsik Kim offers a chilling clarification. The secret remains safe precisely because everyone involved ends up in a grave. He points a manicured finger at the contract, revealing that the hospital isn't there to heal them. It is a factory designed to manufacture plausible causes of death. To construct this fake reality, he explains the meticulous process they need to follow. They require footage of the victim in a specific location, making a purchase or being seen on camera, to anchor their death to a time and place far from the arena. But Seonu Kang refuses to back down, glaring at the recruiter and asking what would happen if he simply walked out and went straight to the police. Minsik Kim doesn't even blink. He calmly states that it would be child's play to frame Seonu as a drug addict or mentally unstable youth. No one listens to a broke student without evidence. A sinister smile plays on his lips as he delivers the final blow to Seonu's hope. It doesn't matter anyway, he sneers, because you would be legally declared dead long before you ever set foot inside a police station. That, he concludes, is the terrifying advantage of owning the very hospital where the tournaments are hosted. The trap is set. The recruiter makes it clear the choice is technically Seonu's. But as the contract slides across the table again, the threat is unspoken: sign or be destroyed. Trying to buy time, Minsik Kim starts to say he can give the boy a few days to think it over, feigning generosity. But Seonu cuts him off. He grabs the pen and signs his life away, demanding only one thing in return: that they keep their word regarding his family. Instantly, a predatory grin spreads across Minsik Kim's face. He has caught his prize. In a flash, a nurse materializes from the shadows and plunges a syringe into Seonu's neck. He grabs her arm in a reflex of panic, shouting at them. The recruiter's voice remains smooth and detached. "Don't worry," he says. "We are just sedating you for transport to the arena." Then comes the final, ruthless warning: "We will protect your parents, but only as long as you are fighting for us." The world begins to blur, darkness swallowing his vision as his mind struggles to process the betrayal. When he snaps his eyes open, his first thought is to wonder if he is already dead. As his focus returns, he sees a figure in a bizarre suit and wonders where on earth they have taken him. Before he can get his bearings, his wheelchair is hurtled down a long, sterile hallway at breakneck speed toward a massive set of doors. The movement stops abruptly. Breathing heavily, he asks the masked figure beside him for answers. The figure commands him to be silent, promising that everything will be revealed in a moment. Then, the words that seal his fate echo in the air: "Welcome to hell." Meanwhile, high above in the corporate headquarters of the Hyunong Group, a shadowy meeting is taking place. Director Cha, the powerful second son of the conglomerate, sits in his chair, listening intently as his subordinates deliver their report. His expression is unreadable as he acknowledges that the boy defeated the infamous Great Bear. Staring at a photo of Seonu Kang, he asks if this kid is truly worthy of being their main pawn. Min-sik Kim, now bowing respectfully, confirms the decision without hesitation, fully aware that the director's brother, the vice president, might ridicule them for choosing a rookie. Director Cha narrows his eyes, demanding to know the strategic reasoning behind picking such an unknown fighter. The subordinate explains the master plan. The vice president is obsessed with the combat wing, so they need a fighter who appears weak to bait him into a massive, reckless bet. A thoughtful silence fills the room as the director considers the gamble, wondering if this unassuming boy is truly the weapon that will bring his own brother to his knees. With absolute conviction, Min-sik Kim reports his findings after examining Seonyu's body following the catastrophic bear strike. His voice trembles as he states that what he discovered was nothing short of a biological miracle. Intrigued, Won-cha leans in and demands to know exactly what makes this boy so special. Meanwhile, Seonyu Kang awakens in a cold, unfamiliar void, his vision blurring as a heavy boot descends toward his face. The stranger tries to stomp on him, but an armed guard barks a sharp order to back off. Awkwardly, the man raises his hands in surrender, laughing it off as just a twisted joke. Suddenly, a high-tech drone hovers closer, scanning Seonyu and confirming the player is conscious, leaving him to wonder what kind of nightmare he has woken up in. Disoriented and confused, he kneels on the cold floor, questioning not only where he is, but why he has been dressed in a pristine school uniform. The drone interrupts his thoughts, announcing the commencement of the first round of random combat. In a chillingly neutral tone, the machine explains this phase is merely a qualifier to decide who is worthy of the main arena. A mechanical hiss fills the air as a compartment slides open, revealing a single, menacing syringe. The drone's robotic voice echoes again, informing them that each player will receive a random drug injection to forcefully enhance a specific ability. It adds that the VIP betting table is now officially open. Faced with this reality, Seonyu's opponent snatches the applicator from the machine, eager to inject the unknown substance. In that frozen moment, Seonyu realizes he has already broken his promise to graduate high school properly. However, a fire lights in his eyes. He remains determined to keep his sacred vow of never touching drugs, no matter the cost. A gut-wrenching scream tears through the air. Seonyu turns to see the syringe clatter to the floor, slick with blood, as the other man howls in celebration, screaming that he pulled a high-tier power drug. With hyper-focused attention, Seonyu watches the transformation, analyzing exactly what this chemical is doing to the man's physiology. Without a second's warning, the opponent blurs forward, launching a devastating kick. The impact sends Seonyu flying like a ragdoll into the concrete wall, which shatters into dust from the sheer force. Shaking off the debris, Seonyu realizes the man's aura has completely changed, wondering if the drug instantly multiplied his muscle density. The drone hovers overhead, announcing that Chil-han has successfully completed his power enhancement sequence. Chil-han roars in ecstasy, proclaiming that Lady Luck is on his side. With manic energy, he laments being stuck inside, wishing he could go out and crush everyone who ever called him scrawny. His bloodshot eyes lock onto Seonyu Kang, and he asks with a sadistic grin exactly how he should execute him. Refusing to be intimidated, Seonyu lands a lightning-fast punch to the man's face. Irritated, Chil-han spits blood and asks if that weak tap was a joke, mocking Seonyu for thinking he stands a chance. Seonyu ignores the taunt, his eyes scanning for details. He notices that while the enemy's strength increased, his reaction speed remains average. Seizing the initiative, he dashes forward to close the gap. However, Chil-han counters with a sledgehammer of a punch that connects squarely with Seonyu's jaw. Blood sprays from his mouth as Seonyu struggles to track the velocity of the attacks. Pushing his limits, he barely manages to dodge the follow-up blow with a desperate backflip. It isn't enough. Chil-han lands a catastrophic punch to his chest, launching Seonyu through the air once again. But the assault isn't over. Chil-han snatches him out of midair, claiming brute force is all he needs. Before mercilessly slamming Xianyu headfirst into the concrete, the enhanced fighter trembles with excitement, celebrating how satisfying it is to crush a human life. He leaps high into the air, screaming to the heavens that he is now the strongest existence. Fueled by deep-seated hatred, he vows to knock all the arrogant elites off their pedestals and grind them into the dirt. Gravity takes over as he descends, driving a powerful knee strike directly into Xianyu's skull. Brutally, he follows up by stomping on Xianyu Kang's chest, spider-webbing the ground beneath them. In a cruel, rasping tone, he states that if he is going to crush something today, he might as well start by pulverizing Xianyu's ribcage. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a flashback, where Min-sia Kim recalls the moment he examined the boy's body after the legendary bear attack. On that fateful day, the data he uncovered defied all medical logic. Confused and skeptical, Won-sha demands an explanation. Struggling to comprehend the impossible, Min-sia Kim explains that Xianyu possesses muscle fibers 10 times denser than an ordinary human. Furthermore, his bone density is completely off the charts, making him biologically classified as something other than human. Back in the present, Xianyu's hand clamps onto Chil-han's leg. Seizing the split-second opening, Xianyu drives a precision kick straight into his opponent's chin, rattling his brain. Staggering back, Chil-han is baffled at how the boy is still conscious without drugs, concluding he must not have fully adapted to his own new strength yet. Lying on the cracked earth, Xianyu analyzes the situation. His opponent has slowed down, likely because the drug boosted power but neglected stamina. With this tactical insight, he calculates that he can destroy the man's face if he avoids the grapple, switching to rapid-fire jabs instead of heavy haymakers. Without hesitation, he explodes into a sprint toward Chil-han. Prepared for the clash, the opponent bellows that Xianyu has only returned for a second beating. With fluid agility, Xianyu weaves past the massive swing, which hits nothing but empty air. He counters instantly, connecting a sharp punch to Chil-han's nose. Maintaining the rhythm of the fight, he ducks under a clumsy grab attempt. Immediately, he punishes the mistake with another clean hit to his opponent's face. Giving him zero room to breathe, Xianyu unleashes a barrage of fast, surgical punches, dissecting the larger man's defense. Under the relentless impact, Chil-han's eyes roll back as he collapses to the ground. Seemingly out cold, seeing the finish line, Xianyu wins up to deliver the final knockout blow. Suddenly, the unconscious act drops. The opponent's eyes snap open, and he clamps onto Xianyu's arms with a vice-like grip. A twisted smile spreads across Chil-han's face as he reveals he took those punches on purpose, just to trap him. Shocked, Xianyu tries to pull away, but the taunting voice rings in his ears, asking if he really thought a predator would let prey get that close without a plan. Leaning in close, Chil-han whispers a terrifying question. Does Xianyu know the real reason kangaroos pin their opponent's arms before they attack? With his arms pinned helpless against his sides, Chil-han unleashes a savage, desperate headbutt, but the reckless move backfires instantly. The impact rattles his own brain, sending him crashing to the dust in a daze. Still, he refuses to yield, clawing at the floor while cursing his paralyzed legs. Rage boils over as he smashes his fist into the ground, screaming at his own body to obey his will. Madness takes over his eyes. He howls that it is impossible. He cannot lose to a nobody who hasn't even taken a single enhancement drug. His gaze locks onto the remaining syringe. One dose wasn't enough to awaken his true potential. He needs more power right now. Like a possessed demon, he drags himself to the machine and snatches the second vial. Xianyu sees the madness in his eyes and realizes the lethal danger immediately. He knows he has to stop him from injecting a drug meant for a different body type. Without hesitating, the young hero launches himself forward to intercept the suicide move. It is too late. Chil-han jams the needle in, and the drone blares a warning. His stamina specs are skyrocketing off the charts. In a blink, he blindsides Xianyu with a blow that sends him flying like a ragdoll. Xianyu slams into the concrete, but before he can recover, a hand crushes his skull. With monstrous strength, Chilhan hoists him into the air, roaring in his face and demanding to know who the real thug is now. He leaps high and drives Xianyu headfirst into the unforgiving ground with world-shattering force. The drone tries to intervene, but Chilhan swats it away like a fly. Looming over Xianyu's broken form, he declares he is done being the victim today. He becomes the predator. He drags the young man up and locks him in a suffocating chokehold, hissing, "Now you know exactly how helplessness feels." The pressure intensifies, crushing Xianyu's windpipe as Chilhan sneers that stubborn rats like him need to be exterminated once and for all. Vision blurring, strength fading, Xianyu feels the abyss calling him. In his final conscious moment, his soul cries out for his father. Suddenly, silence falls. Both Xianyu and Chilhan collapse, lying motionless on the shattered arena floor. The drone's robotic voice breaks the tension. Game ended. Player deceased. Watching from the control room, Yuncha stares at the screen, baffled by the sudden turn of events. Minsia Kim leans back casually, explaining the obvious truth. The fool died from a massive overdose. He notes coldly that the survival rate for mixing those two specific drugs is less than 0.5%. Chilhan survived the power drug, sure, but the moment he injected the stamina booster meant for Xianyu's physiology, he signed his own death warrant. Yuncha scoffs, concluding that the opponent essentially committed suicide. He admits the kid, Xianyu, is incredibly lucky to be alive, but Minsiak shakes his head, calling this luck as irrational. He points to the data. There is something terrifyingly unique about the boy's body. Yuncha argues it might just be higher bone density, reminding him that there are far scarier monsters lurking in this tournament. Minsiak counters with hard science. Current drugs can enhance muscles, organs, and hormones, but there is one absolute rule. Drugs cannot forge stronger bones. That kind of durability implies a special, hidden origin behind this kid's power. Intrigued, Yuncha decides to test the boy's worth on the main stage. He asks what nightmare awaits the kid next. Minsiak replies that since he survived the drug selection round, he automatically advances to the next phase of hell. But first, they will patch him up. He will receive full medical treatment to ensure he is in peak condition for the slaughter ahead. From this point on, he won't be fighting bullies. He will face true monsters who have awakened unknown and deadly powers. In the sterile silence of the medical ward, Xianyu sits alone. His head hangs low, the weight of the battle crushing his shoulders. Guilt gnaws at him. He wonders if Chilhan really died because of him. He only wanted to knock him out, not end his life. Then reality snaps him back. He remembers he was seconds away from death himself. His father's voice echoes in his mind. "Get a grip, son." His resolve hardens. He realizes he is the last hope for his family. He cannot afford the luxury of guilt. Moments later, the drone chimes in, announcing that all survivors must proceed to the main lobby immediately. A medic informs him that a guide will brief him on the new rules, emphasizing that absolute obedience is the key to survival. A chilling warning follows: do not try anything foolish. The guides are authorized to kill. The drone drifts toward a dark passageway, and Xianyu follows into the unknown. The corridor stretches on, eventually opening up into a cavernous underground space that looks more like a subterranean city. Xianyu stares in awe and horror. He realizes this entire underground kingdom was constructed for one purpose: to ensure no one ever escapes. As he walks deeper into the belly of the beast, a pang of regret hits him. He never even got the chance to say goodbye to his mother, but he clings to the deal that keeps his parents safe. There's no turning back now. He must survive at any cost. Looking around, the gravity of his situation sinks in. Outside, he thought he was special, the only monster in the world. But in here, even a neighborhood thug had godlike strength. He shudders to think how many other true demons are hiding in this place. The drone interrupts his thoughts, announcing his arrival as the massive blast doors to the lobby begin to groan open. As the heavy steel parts, he turns to see dozens of other drones swarming out from the same entry point. A mechanical voice confirms all players are present. The real nightmare begins now. 124 participants, and only one way out. The command echoed through the hall. Every participant was ordered to gather in front of the screen for the briefing. Xianwu scanned the room, his eyes darting from face to face. These weren't just competitors. They were monsters. A cold sweat ran down his back. These beasts were on a completely different level than the trash he fought in the first round. Survival was the only goal now. He decided to vanish into the background and avoid injury until the real matches began. But trouble has a way of finding you. A massive shadow loomed over him, asking how a kid got in. Xianwu cursed his school uniform. It was like painting a target on his back. Nearby, whispers spread like poison. Competitors sneered that he only survived because his last opponent overdosed and died. Mockery filled the air. They claimed the rich VIPs just wanted to see a student meet a tragic end. Boredom breeds cruelty. One thug wondered aloud if breaking the kid would provide some entertainment. He moved to strike, but his partner held him back. Someone else had already claimed the prey. Hearing his name, Xianwu spun around. The giant demanded an answer. His voice boomed, asking again if the little mouse wanted to play. Silence was the wrong answer. The aggressor's massive hand clamped onto his head, declaring that death was now his only option. Time seemed to slow. Xianwu realized that mere survival wasn't enough. He had to evolve. In a flash, he slipped past the great bear's grasp. He moved like smoke, dodging the crushing blow. Confusion washed over Big Bear's face. But before he could react, Mr. Kang stepped into the fray. Without hesitation, he extended an arm to halt the violence. In response, a vice-like grip crushed his wrist. The beast growled, demanding to know who dared interfere. Mr. Kang stood firm, insisting that Xianwu was just a child. He braced for impact. The giant scoffed, questioning if a cripple with one enhanced arm actually thought he could win. The taunts grew sharper. Was he really willing to bleed for a useless kid? Xianwu tried to retreat, backing away from the chaos. But Big Bear roared, vowing to slaughter the old man in the boy's place. He couldn't just watch. Xianwu grit his teeth and rushed back in. Suddenly, a deafening blast struck Big Bear head-on. Xianwu froze, eyes wide. The giant's body hit the floor with a thud. A drone hovered above, announcing the briefing and strictly forbidding unsanctioned violence. The mechanical voice was cold. Any further violations would result in immediate execution. Terror gripped Xianwu's heart. They killed without hesitation. Was making it out of this hellhole even possible? A loud noise snapped him back to reality. The screen flickered to life, and a mysterious figure welcomed the trembling survivors. No time was wasted on pleasantries. The drug test was just a warm-up with no stakes. But from this moment on, defeat meant elimination. And in this game, elimination didn't mean going home. It meant you were physically unable to fight. Permanently. Yet, the risk came with a reward. 10 billion won awaited the champion. Greed overpowered fear as the crowd erupted in cheers. Xianwu clenched his fists. That money would change everything for his family. But there was a catch. Only one person could claim the grand prize. The host offered a lifeline. Survive to the top 16. And you'd earn 5% of the VIP betting pool. Hope ignited in the room. One competitor shouted that he'd take it all. The prize and the betting pot. The game was evolving. Each player would receive a personal broadcast channel and a cameraman guide. The VIPs would be watching. The equation was simple. Attention equaled currency. To get rich, they had to put on a show for the wealthy elites. The briefing concluded with logistics. 5-person dorms were open, and teams were theirs to choose. The herd began to move. Guides would answer questions, but first, they had to secure their quarters. Strategy was already in play. 2 men whispered that they needed high-profile allies. Rooming with a nobody kid was a waste of screen time. The words stung. Xianwu realized he was a liability. Finding a safe haven would be nearly impossible. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through his despair. Mr. Kang stepped up, telling him to stay calm. His eyes were steady. He promised to shield Xianwu until the official tournament began. Xianwu glanced back in disbelief. He spotted a blond man walking away, wondering if kindness could truly exist here. Mr. Kang pointed to an empty room, inviting him in. It didn't make sense. Why team up with a target? especially after almost dying for him just moments ago? The man's motives were a mystery, but Xianwu knew one thing for certain. Every door led to danger. When Kang asked if he was coming, Xianwu didn't hesitate. "I'm coming." From the shadows, the two schemers watched them leave, laughing that the pair would be dead last in the rankings. One smirked, revealing his plan. He had secured a room right next to the stars. He'd leech off the most popular players, guaranteeing his face appeared on the VIP screens. His companion smirks, noting that those muscle-bound giants will attract VIPs like flies to honey. Meanwhile, in the adjacent room, three massive hulks sit in heavy, imposing silence. The blonde enigma from earlier approaches their door with confident strides. The moment he steps inside, he locks the door behind him, sealing the room from the outside world. Striding up to one of the behemoths, he casually remarks that the man's seat looks comfortable. With a chilling smile, he orders the giant to move over. Veins bulge on the large man's forehead as he stands up, furious. He demands to know why the intruder closed the door before the cameras could capture their intimidation tactics. The giant lunges, roaring and asking if the blonde man has a death wish. But before the beast can even blink, the blonde fighter lands a devastating, invisible strike. The massive body crashes to the floor, completely out cold. Dusting himself off, the blonde man calmly asks who else wants to make his acquaintance. He orders them to stay silent and obedient. Suddenly, Suhan, a 19-year-old key art prodigy, speaks up, declaring there is someone else he intends to greet. Meanwhile, inside a speeding car, Hyan-cha receives critical intel that shifts the entire board. A source confirms the vice president is realigning with the former champion, Cam. Hyan-cha curses, realizing no one else can partner with the champion now. Their options have dwindled to zero. The only card they have left to play is a mere high school student. Min-seok Kim explains the strategy. If the boy makes it to the top 16, a new window to administer the enhancement drug will open. He argues that because of Sion's naturally evolved physique, he is the perfect vessel. His bone density is 10 times stronger than a normal human's. The potential is limitless. Once he takes the drug, he won't just be strong. He will become the greatest martial artist of all time. Hyan-cha insists they keep a close watch on him, paranoid about other VIPs poaching their prize. Min-seok reassures him that for now, nobody else sees the diamond in the rough. He points out the harsh reality. The 5 misfits sharing a room with Sion had the absolute lowest viewership in the previous round. Back in the dorms, Mr. Kang sighs, realizing that grabbing the audience's attention here will be a Herculean task. He knows the crowd only cares about title contenders. However, their squad has a wild card, Amanda, the only woman in the tournament and an underrated master of capoeira and jiu-jitsu, ranked 23rd. Then there is Min-ho Kim, a boxer with a slight build but deceptive power, sitting at rank 25. And finally, there is Man-an, ranked 28th, who spends his precious training time screaming about his own elbow, maintaining his bizarre antics. Man-an begs for help to touch his elbow with his tongue while Sion watches in stunned silence. Mr. Kang spots a drone hovering nearby. The guides have arrived to film their daily lives. He declares they need to do something flashy to drive up the betting odds. Instantly, he flexes, showing off his cybernetically enhanced arm. He drops into a one-armed handstand push-up, shouting his rep count for the camera. Sion watches skeptically, doubting this macho display will work. Suddenly, Amanda stands up. She points a single finger at the ground and drives it down, cracking the concrete floor with raw force. Defying gravity, she lifts her entire body into a handstand, balancing on that one finger. Sion's jaw drops, unable to comprehend how a human can support their weight on a single digit. While Mr. Kang and Amanda turn the room into a freak show of strength, Sion tries to intervene, but Min-ho steps up. The boxer scoffs that showing off raw strength is for simpletons, then vanishes in a blur, dashing across the room at godlike speed. Sion is left reeling. He asks himself how it is physically possible for a human to move that fast. On the floor, Man-an screams in triumph. While the others displayed superhuman feats, he finally achieved his life's goal. He successfully licked his own elbow. Sion surveys the chaos. He finds the scene simultaneously impressive and utterly ridiculous. Suddenly, the screen flickers to life. The tournament matchups for the top 124 are finally locked in. The room goes quiet as Sion and his roommates scan the bracket. Sion's eyes widen as his opponent's name materializes, a fighter named Kai. Hyansha, watching remotely, asks if this Kai is really a threat. Minsiak's expression turns grave. He reveals that Kai is a monster who has never lost a single fight since his days in the brutal world of Lethwai. Hyansha frowns, unfamiliar with the term. Minsiak explains. Lethwai is a Burmese combat sport similar to Muay Thai, but stripped of all safety and mercy. Hyansha scoffs, arguing that Muay Thai is dangerous enough with its elbows and knees. But Minsiak shakes his head. In Lethwai, the rules of engagement are far more savage. In that arena, fighters wear no gloves. And unlike any other sport, headbutts are not just allowed, they are encouraged. He explains that a strike with the forehead bone acts like a hammer, causing fatal skull fractures. Most sports ban it for a reason. However, Minsiak warns that the headbutts are not even the most terrifying part of Kai's arsenal. What makes Lethwai truly demonic is the permission to strike the back of the neck and the spine. One wrong move results in permanent paralysis or death. That is why Kai is a living weapon. After retiring from sports, he honed his killing instincts as an enforcer for a violent gang. Hyansha leans in, intrigued by the criminal connection. Minsiak theorizes that Kai grew bored with the rules of the ring. Kai began hunting famous fighters in street brawls, tearing them apart until he caught the eye of the underworld's syndicates. Hyansha asks the million-dollar question, can Sion survive a monster like that? Minsiak looks away, admitting that for the first time, he isn't sure. Until now, Sion has only crushed amateurs with zero combat discipline. But the game has changed. His next opponent is Kai, a ruthless 28-year-old master of Lethwai. The recovery pod hisses open, steam rising into the air. Sionwu sits up, shaking off the grogginess. How long was I out? He asks. Strangely, his body feels impossibly light. He flexes his arm, and the realization hits. It is not just a feeling. He has evolved. A sense of déjà vu washes over him. His mind flashes back to the life-or-death struggle against the Great Bear. He recalls waking up with this exact sensation after surviving that nightmare. He stands, power humming beneath his skin. I feel stronger. From the adjacent pod, Minsiak Kim chuckles. Don't be so surprised. The older man explains the warrior's truth. Muscles pushed to the absolute breaking point, without snapping, rebuild themselves harder than steel. He adds a sharp observation. You probably never tested your true limits until now. The realization strikes the young man like lightning. Against the Great Bear, he hadn't just fought. He had shattered his own ceiling. Still, Minsiak eyes him suspiciously. Your recovery speed is monstrous. You're taking performance enhancers. Sionwu ignores the jab, his face serious. I've been meaning to ask you something. He locks eyes with the older man. Why help me? You're risking your life and limb for a stranger. Minsiak's expression softens, the bravado fading. He sighs, because, kid, you remind me of my son. The regret in his voice is palpable. If he had been a better father, perhaps his boy wouldn't be drowning in debt to vicious loan sharks. Sionwu connects the dots. Is that why you're in this tournament? The silence confirms it. He is fighting to clear the debt and save his family. Minsiak continues, his voice thick with emotion. Seeing Sionwu fighting all alone in this hellhole brought back painful memories of the son he neglected. I couldn't just stand by and watch history repeat itself. Sionwu's gaze turns cold. Stop wasting your time on me. He delivers a harsh truth. If you want to be a good father, survive this and go be one. Don't die here playing hero. None of it matters if you're a corpse. Annoyed by the lecture, Minsiak drags him into a headlock. You talk like me helping you is the apocalypse, you ungrateful brat. Suddenly, a shriek of indignation shatters the moment. This is absolute garbage. Manan stares at the large screen, horrified. Why aren't we in the main arena? A camera drone zips by, and he desperately shouts, hey, I can lick my own elbow, look. Minsiak shakes his head. Only the viral fights make the main arena stage. The rest of us bottom feeders are stuck back in the prelim zones. He analyzes the bracket, his face grim. It means our group has the lowest viewership ratings. We are the underdogs. But he spots a terrifying detail. Everyone else except for their comic relief friend Manhwa is scheduled for the main stage. That means our opponents are the stars, the fan favorites, the monsters. Sianwoo's eyes light up with a dangerous glint. Then this is perfect. Min Seok blinks, confused. Perfect. How? Sianwoo grins. We take down the stars. We steal their light. It's the ultimate chance to make our dorm famous. The older man shudders, staring at him. You really are a complete lunatic. Just then, Manan interrupts with fresh intel. It's not just regular viewers watching the main stage, guys. He drops the bombshell. 16 VVIPs are there in person. We're talking the world's most powerful elites. Sianwoo's heart skips a beat. The mysterious talent scout must be among them. Meanwhile, in the dead of night, 3 black sedans slide to a halt outside a desolate warehouse. Woo Jin steps out of the lead car, disgust written all over his face. Why this filth? I was told we were going to the main arena. Director Kang scans the shadows. The arena's location is a closely guarded secret. This is a secure extraction point. He leans in, voice lowered. Be careful. I noticed someone else has been tracking Sianwoo's channel besides us. Woo Jin stiffens. Are we being investigated? Before Kang can answer, a female voice cuts through the darkness. Oh, relax. It's just a misunderstanding. On the rusted catwalk above, Sian Young, the youngest daughter of the Hesian group, looks down like a queen on her throne. She smirks, twirling a strand of hair. I'm only here because I found Sianwoo entertaining. Woo Jin explodes with rage. You? What are you doing here? Following me like a rat? You were kicked out of the company. Director Kang adjusts his glasses, visibly uncomfortable. It seems your sister has developed a keen interest in our affairs. She is not my sister, Woo Jin roars. She's just the mistress's brat. Sian Young descends the stairs, heels clicking on metal. Cruel words, brother. Especially since I sacrificed my education to clean up your messes. She stops in front of him, eyes gleaming. But thanks to your incompetence, I found this fascinating underworld. So, thank you. Woo Jin steps forward, fists clenched. I don't know what you're planning, but you better vanish. Now. Suddenly, the roar of an engine echoes through the warehouse. A luxury limousine drifts inside, shocking the siblings into silence. 2 figures in full hazmat suits emerge, opening the doors. VIP transport initiated. We will escort you to the main arena. Cut to the destination. Sian Young removes her blindfold. Where on earth? Her voice trails off. Below her stretches a colossal, circular combat coliseum. A guard bows low. Welcome to the VVIP skybox. Sian Young looks down at the violence below, a satisfied smile spreading across her face. Finally, let the real games begin. She reveals the chilling truth. This arena isn't just a venue. It is her brother's personal hunting ground. In the observation room, Yunsha is stunned by the sheer scale of the facility. Mr. Kong cuts in the moment the current bloodbath ends. The war for Room 10 begins. Boom! A sudden explosion rocks the monitor, filling the screen with smoke and debris. Through the dust, Min So-han is revealed, pinning his victim against a shattered wall like a ragdoll. Yoon gasps, his voice trembling. What kind of monster is that? Mr. Kang's eyes narrow. He identifies the beast as Min So-han. And terrifyingly enough, there's another fighter here who matches Sianu's age. The spectator asks if they are dealing with high schoolers. Mr. Kang corrects him coldly. Minsu dropped out. He abandoned the classroom for the battlefield long ago. Still, it defies logic. How could one single school produce 2 absolute monsters of this caliber? The revelation drops heavy in the room. Minsu-han hails from the exact same high school as Sionu. Minsu's victory is absolute. The drone's robotic voice cuts through the silence, declaring the end of matches 9 and 20. Now, the spotlight shifts to the showdown between rooms 10 and 3. The fighters are ordered to the stage. Min-sik Kim feels the atmosphere shift. The pressure here is suffocating. Leagues above the first round, the drone issues a command. Everyone hold position. Everyone, that is, except the first player Minho Kim. Minho steps up to the arena entrance. He shakes out his limbs, steeling his nerves for what is to come. As Minho advances, the victors are ordered to clear the area. Minsu Han walks past him, the air growing heavy. As they cross paths, Minsu casually runs a hand through his hair. Watching from the sidelines, Minsik prays Minho keeps his cool. Suddenly crack. A rock smashes into the wall right next to Seonu Kong. Seonu blinks, wondering where the hell that came from. Minho stops dead. He glances back, his eyes sharp. He saw it. He saw everything. It was a sleight of hand. Minsu feigned a hair adjustment while simultaneously launching a projectile at Seonu with blinding speed. Seonu just stares blankly at the dent in the wall. Minho is stunned. A normal fighter would not have even tracked that motion. He turns, stepping toward the beast. "Hey, Minsu Han." Minsu pauses, glancing over his shoulder with a smirk. "Is the kid on your team always this arrogant?" Minho doesn't back down. "I don't think so." He refuses to let the disrespect slide. The other fighter frowns, questioning his meaning, denying the reality of what just happened. Instinct takes over. Minho drops into a fighting stance right there in the hallway. Watching the feed, Minsik panics. What the hell does he think he is doing? Amanda breaks it down. This wasn't random. Minho has hypersenses. He detects the slightest shifts in the air. A flash of murderous intent like that, he couldn't ignore it if he tried. Minsu stops smiling. A terrifying, dark aura erupts from his body, flooding the corridor. Then, just as quickly, Minsu turns and walks away, dismissing him. Minho is left confused, heart racing. Did he imagine it? No. The fear in his gut tells him it was all too real. But there is no time to dwell on monsters. A shadow looms behind him. Minho clenches his fists, questioning his own strength. How can he exact revenge when he feels this weak? A deep voice rumbles. What are you staring at?" Minho spins around. His true opponent has arrived. Standing before him is the massive wrestler, Pes. High above in the VIP box, Ju Seong-go, president of the Seong-un Hotel, raises an eyebrow. Why a wrestler? They don't strike, they grapple. His assistant smirks, explaining the brutal truth. Strikes mean nothing once a grappler gets a hold of you. Once you are grabbed, it is game over. Once a wrestler secures their prey, the world becomes pain. Throws, joint locks, bone-breaking pressure, few can survive the ground game. That is why wrestlers dominate mixed martial arts. It is the ultimate foundation for combat. Sure, a striker can hold their own with fists alone, but facing an opponent who turns their entire body into a weapon, that is a nightmare scenario. The assistant notes the massive size difference sits the nail in the coffin. The drone hovers overhead, buzzing with anticipation. Both fighters are ready. The bell virtually rings. The match between Minho Kim and the Titan Pes is officially underway. Pes sneers, looking down at Minho. "Are you some boxing rookie? You look like a soft kid who has never fought without padded gloves. I almost feel bad for being your first." Bam! Minho doesn't waste breath on words. He lunges, planting a fist directly into Pes's eye socket. Pes stumbles back, clutching his face. The pain is instant and blinding. Minho stands tall, his voice ice cold. "Who said I was a weakling?" Pes growls, trying to focus through his one good eye. But he is too slow. Minho vanishes from his sight line, appearing in the blind spot like a ghost. Another heavy blow cracks against Pes's face. It's a barrage. Minho lands a clean combo. Pes, desperate, lunges forward to clinch, but he grabs nothing but air. Minho is already gone. Minho counters. Fists fly into the wrestler's face and chest with surgical precision. He targets the other eye, delivering a final, punishing strike to seal the blindness. Minsik watches with wide eyes. Is it over already? Amanda's expression remains grim. Not yet. She points at the screen. Look closely. Pes has started to block. She is right. The wrestler raises his guard, deflecting the next volley. Minho senses the shift and hops back, creating distance. Pes roars and charges, diving for a takedown. Minho throws himself backward, dodging the grapple by a fraction of a second. Pes reels back in total confusion. Even mid-attack, he witnessed an anomaly. How in the world did his opponent move like that? The memory hits him like a freight train. Just as his vision faded in one eye, a jolt of electricity surged through his nerves. His survival instincts were screaming. Now, the sensation makes sense. Pus makes a chaotic gambler's move. With supreme confidence, he shuts his eyes completely, plunging himself into darkness. Manhwa freezes, completely baffled. Why would his enemy voluntarily blind himself in the middle of a death match? Confusion aside, Manhwa seizes the opening. He charges in, convinced that victory is already in his grasp now that his opponent can't see. But Pus snaps a hand out, catching Manhwa's fist in midair. A stunned silence descends over the spectators as the impossible happens. Panic sets in. Manhwa realizes he needs to dodge left immediately. He tries to retreat, but another hand instantly cuts off his escape route. With terrifying strength, Pus hoists him high into the air. Gravity takes over as he slams Manhwa violently into the unforgiving arena floor. A perfect suplex. Caster Kim screams into the mic. Yu Seong-go watches closely, realizing the fighter's power spiked the moment he lost his sight. The assistant trembles as he explains. Losing his vision didn't weaken him. It triggered the drug's true potential: total sensory overload. Pus looms over his fallen prey. He sneers, telling Manhwa to be grateful. Without this fight, he never would have awakened this godlike power. But Manhwa isn't finished yet. A finger twitches. In a blur of motion, a fist connects squarely with Pais's jaw. Yu Seong-go gasps in shock. Pus is blind in both eyes now. How can he possibly respond to that? He's still alive. Caster Kim roars. If Manhwa keeps this pressure up, the match is his. The underdog still has teeth. Impossible, the assistant whispers, chilling the president's blood. Manhwa is unconscious. His body is fighting on pure muscle memory and instinct alone. Amanda grips the railing, her knuckles white. Get up, Manhwa, she pleads desperately. Wake up before he finds you. Pus rises from the debris. Darkness surrounds him. Yet a terrifying new sensation floods his nervous system like liquid fire. He prowls the arena. At first, the sensory input is chaotic, leaving him disoriented in a sea of noise and texture. Then, clarity strikes. He can smell the individual grains of sand on the floor. He hears the jagged rhythm of Manhwa's breathing like rolling thunder. Even the air speaks to him. He feels the atmospheric pressure shift with every microscopic movement. In the room, ecstasy twists his face. I see everything, Pus laughs. He realizes the drug has evolved him into a predator with zero blind spots. He wanted raw strength, but fate gave him something far deadlier. He is evolving with every passing second, becoming a monster. As a twisted thank you to the universe for this gift, he decides to end Manhwa Kim's life right here and now. Pus launches his assault. Helpless on the ground, Manhwa's body refuses to obey. In the darkness of his mind, he cries out for his brother. A tragic image floods his consciousness: his brother's broken body lying on the cold floor, lifeless. That memory ignites a spark in his soul. He remembers the vow he made, to find his brother, no matter the cost. The past resurfaces: a mysterious man, a business card, a path to his brother's killer. Back in the arena, death descends as Pus leaps for the final kill. Snap! The world grinds to a halt. Pais's lethal fist hangs frozen in the air, mere inches from Manhwa's nose. Manhwa's eyes snap open. Confusion washes over him. Why is the world moving in slow motion? Realization hits like a truck. Time didn't slow down. Manhwa sped up. Pais's fist obliterates the concrete where Manhwa's head was a millisecond ago. But Manhwa is already gone. He stands on the opposite side of the arena, completely untouched. The crowd gasps, minds unable to process the speed. Pus kneels in the rubble, shouting into the void. When did you get over there? Manhwa smirks, wiping dust from his shoulder. While Pus was busy monologuing about his senses, Manhwa had plenty of time to recharge. Pais's blood runs cold. It's not a bluff. His opponent has transcended his previous limits and become something else entirely. Let's see if you can keep up, Manhwa taunts, dropping into his battle stance. We'll start with level 1. Pais's radar pings wildly. The air pressure shifts. Manhwa Kim is coming. Impact! Pus blocks the strike. Luck, maybe. Minho decides to crank up the dial and test this blind monster. Minho unleashes a flurry, but Pis weaves through them like smoke. Minho recoils, genuinely shocked by the blind man's evasion skills. How Minho demands. Pis grins maniacally. He can feel the vibrations of Minho's very heartbeat. There is nowhere to hide. Minho grits his teeth. Half measures won't work against a human radar. He needs to gamble everything on one decisive move. He coils his muscles for maximum velocity. The launch is so violent it shatters the arena floor beneath his feet. Right straight, Minho screams, aiming for the kill. Bam! Pis counters instantly, burying a fist in Minho's face. But Pis pauses, confused. Why did Minho collapse mid-attack? The momentum feels wrong. He checks his own body. Did his neck snap? Is this another hallucination born of the drug's side effects? Then the truth dawns on him. If Minho hadn't tripped at that exact second, Pais's counter would have snapped the boy's neck. A clumsy mistake just saved his life. Minho Kim realizes that raw speed is useless. His opponent senses the attacks before they even happen. He instantly shifts tactics, abandoning velocity for pure, calculated footwork. Pais's eyes widen as he realizes the speedster has stopped running and is now relying solely on basic movement. Is he exhausted? Pis scoffs, wondering what a normal speed attack can possibly do. He roars for the kid to give up before he gets killed. But his taunt is cut short as Minho's fist slams squarely into his face. Minho Kim weaves through the counterattack and delivers another devastating blow to Pais's jaw. The crowd gasps in disbelief. He actually hit him. Minho doesn't stop. He circles his opponent like a predator, chest heaving but legs moving in a blur of motion. A spectator frowns, confused by the strategy. He's wasting all of his stamina on feints. How can he attack if he burns out now? Bam, Minho lunges, landing another clean hit. Pis stumbles back, shock written all over his face. How is he getting hit again? Minho unleashes a torrent of strikes against his opponent's chest. To Pais's enhanced eyes, Minho is everywhere at once, a whirlwind of phantom images. Why keep feinting if the punches work? The crowd murmurs, but Amanda Gross sees the truth. No, she whispers. The punches are landing because of the feints. A heavy blow crashes into Pais's torso, stealing the air from his lungs. Amanda continues. When Minho stopped feinting before, he became predictable. He thought speed alone was enough. So he's tricking the guy's eyes. A man asks. It goes deeper than that. Amanda corrects grimly. Minho is deceiving all of Pais's senses. With that drug-enhanced perception, anticipating attacks should be easy. But Pis hasn't mastered this new power yet. And against advanced feints, his unrefined mind gets completely scattered. Minho figured it out instantly. He's using the chaos of Pais's own heightened senses to tear him apart. Her gaze hardens. That boy, he might be far stronger than any of us imagined. On the arena floor, Minho slips under a desperate swing and blasts another fist into Pais's face. Go whirls on his assistant, furious. You made me bet on this loser. He's getting dismantled by a kid. But the assistant remains calm. Look closer, sir. Does Pis look like he's losing? The assistant asks. Pis grins, blood staining his teeth. Gotcha. Suddenly, he snatches Minho from behind in a vice-like grip. My senses never lie. Pis roars, convinced the victory is finally his. He hoists Minho high and slams him into the concrete with earth-shattering force. The crowd screams, but the body on the floor dissolves into nothingness. Pis freezes, staring at the empty ground. What? I felt him. I definitely caught him. A real Minho Kim stands nearby, completely untouched. A spectator gasps. Why did Pis just throw himself backward at thin air? He didn't attack the body. Amanda reveals, her eyes narrowing. Minho attacked his brain. Seonu blinks. His brain? Minho targeted Pais's head relentlessly. She explains. Every blow rattled his skull. He struck again before the vibrations could stop, creating a resonance effect. Under that constant barrage, even a supersensory monster couldn't maintain focus. Minho induced a total sensory failure, Amanda concludes. He made Pis believe he caught a man who wasn't even there. Sprawled on the floor, Pis stares up in despair. How? I took the drug. How are his senses sharper than mine? It's not fair. His eyes roll back, and he collapses into unconsciousness. Minho stands silent over his fallen foe as a drone hovers down. Combatant Pass is unable to continue. Winner, Minho Kim. As the announcement echoes, Minho stumbles, exhaustion finally hitting him. Meanwhile, Yuzgo slams his fist on the table, cursing his lost fortune. Minho drops to his knees in the center of the arena. Gasping for breath, he looks up at the lights and whispers, "Brother." Seong Yunsha watches from the VIP box, a chill running down her spine. This isn't a fight between humans anymore, she realizes, finally understanding her brother's obsession with this tournament. Her companion leans in, voice low. It's not just about the fighting. This arena grants the elite everything they crave, desires that money and power alone can't buy. Here, they can commit murder without consequences. They can consume drugs that vanish without a trace. It is the ultimate freedom. This is a twisted paradise for the wealthy who have grown bored with the mortal world. That is why the VIPs stake their pride here. And now you see why your second brother is so desperate to crush the eldest in this arena. The man adds, the director chose his fighter carefully. His recruiter knows the darkest corners of this world. Seong Yun nods slowly. So, they're finally making their move. But we'll see if his pawn is truly strong enough. The next match will decide everything. As Seo Nu Kong gears up for battle, deep within the facility, a shadowy figure watches Minho Kim's fight on a glowing monitor. A scientist in a pristine lab coat turns to the wing director. "Sir, all 16 VIPs have entered the building." The director, his face hidden behind bandages, smiles. "A full house. I expect magnificent results this year." He pauses. "And the research?" "Success, sir," the scientist reports. "We've confirmed the manifestation of stage to sensory enhancement. Short-term side effects have been reduced by nearly 20%. However, he hesitates. The regenerative effect we hoped for hasn't appeared in the subjects yet. Do you consider this a failure?" The scientist shakes his head rapidly. "No, sir. The drug's maximum potency is only just beginning." He looks at the screen with terrifying confidence. "Our efforts are about to bear fruit. Right now," he reveals a terrifying breakthrough. They've discovered a sinister side effect of the drugs, one that unlocks the secrets of regeneration. The director narrows his eyes. He knows they mean the iron skin effect. He demands to see this power unleashed immediately. The man smirks. The wait is over. The test subject for the main event is already stepping into the slaughterhouse. Kai sits in solitary silence, a predator in waiting. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the facility, Seo Nu Kang warms up casually beside his handler. His handler warns him to throw in the towel if the violence escalates. But the young man just shakes his head. Surrender is not an option. "Aren't you even a little scared?" the man asks, baffled by the boy's flat pulse. Seo Nu's answer is chillingly simple. "No." The handler shudders. This kid is a monster in his own right. Suddenly, a drone buzzes over, interrupting the eerie calm. The machine commands player Seo Nu Kang to enter the arena. As he walks to his fate, he wonders, when did he lose the ability to feel fear? Since childhood, he survived catastrophes that would break ordinary men. Accidents that should have been fatal left him standing. He walked away unscathed from death traps time and again. At first, he cried from the shock. He was human once. But eventually, the terror faded. Danger became mundane. Bullies sought to provoke a reaction, desperate to see him flinch. But no matter the violence, his expression never changed. He was an unmoving mountain against their storms. In the end, his emptiness terrified them. The only fear he holds now is for his family's safety, not for some arena thug like Kai. In the VIP box, Wu Chao leans forward. The show begins. He demands to know what cocktail coursed through Kai's veins. Minho Kim reveals the trump card, the iron skin formula. Wu Chao scoffs. How does tougher skin win a fight? Minho smiles darkly. It's not just defense. Kai's previous opponent was dismantled. Skin and muscle flayed from bone. Torn apart, the VIP is confused. How does hardening the skin turn a man into a shredder? Minseal clarifies the nightmare. Kai's skin is harder than steel. Mere contact acts like a rasp, shredding soft flesh and muscle upon impact. He adds that the elites are pouring money on the monster. The VIP hesitates. A pro fighter with diamond skin. The choice seems obvious. The tablet confirms the trend. A sea of bets on Kai. Seo Nu Kang stands alone with zero backing. But wait, a blinking light. Someone just dropped a massive 100 million won wager on the underdog. The VIP explodes in disbelief. Who is insane enough to do that? In a shadowy private suite, Seon Young-cha watches calmly. Her assistant trembles beside her. "Madam, are you certain about this gamble?" She smiles coldly. "No risk, no empire. I have to make bold moves to usurp my brother's. He is either a gold mine or a disaster. She is willing to pay the price to find out." The drone signals the start. Seo Nu drops into a combat stance, eyes burning with resolve to survive. But something is wrong. His opponent stands limp. Seo Nu barks, "Are we fighting or are you sleeping?" Kai sneers, his ego filling the arena. "I am a warrior. I don't bully school children." He saunters forward, offering a mercy blow at 10% power. "Stay down, kid," he whispers, driving a heavy kick into Seo Nu's ribs. Seo Nu crumbles to his knees. Wu-cha sighs. One hit. The outcome was written in stone. The glasses-wearing VIP stands up, bored. "Show's over. I'm leaving before I fall asleep." "Wait," Minho Kim interjects, eyes narrowed. He isn't screaming. The VIP pauses, confused. It dawns on them. Kai wasn't trying to kill him. He was trying to spook him. Is the beast showing mercy? Mercy, no. Minho corrects. It's pride. Kai thinks fighting a child is beneath his station. A serious fight would stain his reputation. He is practically begging Seo Nu to take the dive and end the charade. In the ring, Kai hisses, "You were supposed to fake a knockout, not just kneel there." He grinds his teeth. "Don't make this hard. Complaining won't save you. I'll give you one last shot to lay down." Seo Nu rises, dusting himself off. "Are you trying to win a debate or a fight?" Kai's eyes widen. The kid has a death wish. Kai snaps. He launches a lethal high kick, but Seo Nu vanishes underneath. He sweeps Kai's standing leg. A collective gasp sucks the air from the room. The audience is paralyzed as the giant stumbles. "I said stay down." Kai roars, abandoning technique for a wild, crushing punch. The student bends backward like a reed in the wind. Kai watches in slow motion, stunned by the impossible dodge. Seo Nu defies gravity. He flips over the brute, landing a crisp, humiliating slap to the back of Kai's head. The VIPs go silent. Kai spins around, furious. Seo Nu smirks. "You talk a lot about giving chances for someone who just got humbled by a high schooler." His eyes turn cold. "If you're weak enough to kneel before me, you aren't even worth my fist." Kai decides to take matters into his own hands. If the kid won't play dead, he'll make him wish he were dead. He clamps his hands onto Seo Nu's shoulders, radiating pure intimidation. The young man freezes, paralyzed by the overwhelming pressure. 50% power should be enough, Kai announces coldly. Then, bam. He delivers a savage headbutt straight to Seo Nu's skull. Pain shoots through Kai's own head. Did he use too much force? Suddenly, a shadow flashes, a foot rockets up, smashing into his chin. Seo Nu used the impact to launch a counter kick. The blow connects cleanly with Kai's face, sending the veteran fighter staggering backward. How is the kid still standing? That headbutt should have finished him. Seo Nu wobbles slightly, shaking off the blurred vision clouding his sight. Kai roars and lunges with a massive punch. It barely misses skin, but the sheer force shreds Seo Nu's shirt into ribbons. Mr. Kang watches in disbelief. His fist didn't even touch him. How did the fabric rip apart like that? He's not done yet, Minho Kim warns. Kai smashes an elbow into Seo Nu's back, then raises a fist high, ready to crush the boy's skull. "Stop, you'll kill him," Mr. Kang screams in terror. Seo Nu collapses to the concrete, with Kai looming over him like a grim reaper. "This is madness," Mr. Kang cries out. But Minho Kim just stares, fascinated. "No, look closer. This is defying all logic. What exactly is this creature disguised as a boy?" Even Kai stares down at the fallen figure, confusion replacing his rage. He realizes the truth. Before the elbow even connected, Seo-nu had slammed his own head into the ground to absorb the impact. Was that a calculated move, a desperate defense mechanism? No, it must have been blind panic. Does the kid think his skull is made of iron? But then, the impossible happens. Seo-nu begins to rise. Kai's eyes widen. No stimulants, no drugs, yet he's standing up again. Mr. Kang is paralyzed with shock, unable to process the scene. Manhwa narrows his eyes. Make no mistake, that is not a child we can afford to underestimate. There is something about him, something that sends shivers down my spine. Seo-nu Kang shifts into his fighting stance, ready for round 2. Stop acting tough, Kai spits out. If you had just stayed down and faked it, I would have let you walk away with your life. You're mumbling again. The young man interrupts, his eyes burning. Let's see if your fists are as heavy as your mouth, old man. That did it. Kai decides to break the boy's spirit completely. He needs to prove that resistance is futile. He throws his arms wide open, exposing his chest. Go ahead. Do your worst. I won't even block. The kid's arrogance is infuriating, but Kai welcomes the challenge. After all, he risked everything to become the ultimate fighting machine. He destroyed every champion in the underground rings. He broke them all. But mere sport was never enough to satisfy his hunger. To forge himself into a true warrior, he needed to dance with death. He needed battles where survival wasn't guaranteed. So he hunted the most dangerous criminals, infiltrating rival gangs just to fight killers with blood on their hands. He leveled up through pure violence. A scrawny kid like this, he's nothing. Kai sneers, gesturing for him to come closer. Hit me. I promise, it won't even tickle. Seo-nu doesn't hesitate. He drives a fist straight into Kai's ABS. The crowd holds its breath, eyes glued to the spectacle. Kai catches the fist, smirking. Is that all you? The smirk vanishes. Something is wrong. I'll try that again, Seo-nu says calmly. Wham! Another strike buries itself into the pit of Kai's stomach. Kai freezes, his brain struggling to comprehend the heavy impact. Seo-nu presses the advantage. He snaps a high kick toward the head, forcing Kai to throw up a desperate block. Annoyance flares into anger. Kai wins up a massive counterattack. But Seo-nu senses the danger and scrambles to evade. To slow, Kai's fist slams into Seo-nu's chest like a cannonball, ripping through fabric and tearing into the flesh beneath. The young man gasps, retreating rapidly to create distance. But Kai is already resetting, a predator locking onto a wounded prey. How many second chances do you want? Kai growls. Suddenly, a chilling sound cuts the air. A laugh. Are you laughing? Did you forget your own words? Seo-nu asks. He tears the tatters of his shirt away, revealing a physique carved from granite and iron. The man in glasses pushes up his frames, stunned. Where was he hiding those muscles? Seo-nu smirks at Kai. Hey, invincible man. Why did you block earlier? Kai turns, his face darkening. There is no point in denying it anymore. Fine, Kai admits. You're not just a prop for the show. But remember, you asked for this. Aura explodes around him. I'm going 100%. Instead of fear, a twisted smile spreads across Seo-nu Kang's face. Has he lost his mind? The glasses man stammers. He's going to die. But Amanda Groh shakes her head. No, look at his eyes. He's thrilled. Thrilled, the man shouts. He's facing a monster at full power. This is suicide. He's excited because he's finally being seen, Amanda explains. A powerhouse like Kai just acknowledged him as a threat. The man can't wrap his head around it, risking his life for validation. Amanda smiles wistfully. I know exactly how he feels. Men never took me seriously in the ring, she whispers. But when I forced them to go all out, to truly try and kill me, that's when my heart finally started to beat. He tells her to breathe, asking why she is wearing that grin right now. Minho Kim chimes in, his voice steady. He knows that twisted excitement all too well. Memories flood back. He recalls how the world looked down on him for being small, a weakling. But back then, the only time he felt truly alive was dancing through the fire of their punches, just to land that one perfect counter-strike. Minho Kim smirks. It was the shock on their faces that fueled him. The moment they realized he was not prey, but a fighter. The man in glasses pushes up his frames. The pieces fit. He concludes that Seonu possesses the true heart of a gladiator. In the center of the ring, the air crackles. Both opponents explode toward each other. Seonu decides to seize the initiative and strike first. He drives a fist straight at Kai, but the giant blocks it casually with a forearm. Mr. Kang winces at the heavy thud, thinking Kai was caught off guard. But Seonu realizes the terrifying truth: his opponent's skin is hard as concrete. Kai grins, warning him that it is payback time. With a single, devastating punch, he buries Seonu into the canvas. The spectator feels the floor tremble and declares that Kai is in a league of his own. The sheer force launches Seonu through the air like a ragdoll. Sprawled on the ground, Seonu gasps, lungs burning for air. The man in glasses thinks Seonu managed to roll with the punch, but Minho Kim corrects him. That was not a clean dodge. A nasty gash splits open on Seonu's back. An unfamiliar, stinging heat spreads through his body. Seonu questions the shaking in his limbs. Is this fear? He glares up at the behemoth and asks himself if this monster is actually making him tremble. Kai looms over him, challenging him to accept his fate, claiming Seonu will never have the strength to defeat him. Seonu snaps back, telling him to shut his mouth. Kai is not the only monster in this cage. He steals his nerves. Anything Kai can dish out, he can match. He lunges forward, a desperate attack that slices through empty air. He crashes to the mat after the missed strike. Kai announces that it is his turn now. The spectator with glasses realizes the giant is winding up for a brutal headbutt. Crack! Seonu beats him to the punch, slamming his own forehead into Kai's skull. He roars, proving that anything his opponent can do, he can do better. Lying on the floor, Seonu shudders, fighting for oxygen. Kai sneers, claiming the match is over. He calls Seonu's attacks skill-less brute force, but then, a smile creeps across Seonu's bloody face. His opponent pauses, unnerved. Why is he smiling in the face of defeat? Kai steps closer, promising that if the boy will not quit, he will end him permanently. The man in glasses squints at the heat waves. Seonu's blood and sweat are literally evaporating into steam. Seonu confesses he used to hate violence. Being dragged into endless brawls made him feel like a beast. But he wonders if the arena is twisting his mind, because he cannot stop grinning. He admits that he cannot contain the urge to tear this guy apart. As Kai charges, Seonu defies gravity, leaping up to drive a boot into Kai's face. Mid-air, he clamps onto his opponent's head. Kai's eyes widen. He is too fast. Seonu delivers a thunderous headbutt in mid-air. Using the momentum, he spins the giant around and hurls him violently into the wall. Kai stumbles, watching Seonu recover. He states the kid is barely human anymore. The young fighter leaps again, smashing Kai's head against the structure. He locks him in a clinch. Got you. Seonu drives a piston-like punch straight into his opponent's face. He unleashes a machine gun flurry of body blows. A final, devastating strike sends Kai flying backward. Kai wonders what kind of stimulant this kid took. Does he ever tire? Kai questions his stamina as he charges back into the fray. He manages to graze Seonu with a heavy kick. Kai loses his balance and attempts a second kick, but misses. Seonu capitalizes instantly, landing to direct, bone-rattling punches to the face. Kai is stunned. Seonu connects with an uppercut from hell, snapping Kai's head back. The crowd goes deathly silent. Kai stands motionless after the exchange. Mr. Kang asks if the giant is dead from blood loss, but Amanda Groh shakes her head grimly. That blood does not belong to Kai. She reveals the horrifying truth: the blood is pouring from Seonu's own fists. The young man sways, drunk on power, feeling his body tearing itself apart from the inside out. Su Yunsha gasps, wondering how Kai is still standing. The man in sunglasses explains the nightmare scenario. Kai's skin acts like armor. Every hit is destroying Seonu's hands. She asks the impossible question: does her companion even have a chance against this tank? Seonu admits he has never felt pain like this, but he sees that his opponent has reached his limit. Eyes barely open, desperate, Kai decides to snap Seonu's legs to end it. He charges, but the young fighter manages to block the bone-breaking kick. Kai is baffled by that reaction speed. Seonu counters with a face punch, but his own fist bursts open from the impact. Seeing the blood, Kai resolves to fight until one of them is nothing but shredded meat. He rushes in for the kill. They collide in a violent storm of blows. Seonu wonders if his attacks are even working. He can no longer feel his own hands. He knows he cannot keep this up. Kai realizes the kid is landing flush hits just to keep the skin on his knuckles from ripping off entirely. A strange sensation pulses through his fist. Without understanding why, he feels his power draining. He decides not to waste another second. Kai spots an opening in Seonu's guard and prepares the ultimate technique he has honed for over a decade. Kai coils his muscles, launching a devastating low kick aimed to cripple. The blow connects with a heavy thud against Seonwoo's leg. Roaring with adrenaline, Kai unleashes a follow-up strike, screaming that his opponent is finished. But Seonwoo doesn't budge, checking the kick perfectly with his own shin. The bespectacled spectator gasps, realizing Seonwoo just countered bone with bone. Suddenly, a sickening crack echoes through the arena as the young man's leg shatters on impact. The sound is unmistakable. The tibia has snapped completely. Seonwoo grits his teeth, his face a mask of agony and determination. He realizes his muscle fibers are tearing, freezing him in place. Sensing blood, Kai moves in to deliver the executioner's blow. Kai howls that the match is over, but his final kick halts in midair. A look of pure confusion washes over him as his body refuses to obey. Kai collapses to his knees, wondering if this is some twisted nightmare. The entire audience falls silent, watching the shocking turn of events in disbelief. Seonwoo stands tall, a towering shadow over Kai's broken form. Up in the VIP box, Director Yoon turns to his assistant, demanding an explanation. Manager Kim explains the grim reality. The skin-strengthening drug only masked the pain, leading to catastrophic accumulated damage. Kai's bones absorbed every shock until they simply disintegrated. Beneath the skin, Kai's limbs are now a graveyard of splintered fractures. The drone hovers overhead, announcing Kai is unable to continue. It declares Kong Seonwoo the winner, and a roar of primal victory erupts from his throat. The man with glasses trembles in despair, asking how Seonwoo refuses to fall, likening him to an unkillable zombie. Manager Kim narrows his eyes, whispering that this boy, Seonwoo, is definitely hiding a terrifying secret. Collapsed on the ground, Seonwoo mentally begs his mother to hold on a little longer. Meanwhile, in a shadowy office, a bandaged executive asks if they are certain the boy is clean. An assistant confirms the medical records show zero trace of enhancements, but promises a second, thorough examination after the round. The bandaged figure drums his fingers, deciding they must first uncover his true identity by targeting the weak point, his parents. Outside, a torrential downpour hammers the city hospital. In a quiet room, Seonwoo's mother keeps a vigil over her husband, who clings to life on life support. The sound of the door opening breaks the silence, and she turns, expecting a nurse. She starts to say visiting hours are over, but freezes as two menacing men in black suits loom behind her. Back at the arena, medics rush Seonwoo away on a stretcher. Director Yoon watches the exit, skepticism in his voice as he questions if a broken fighter can possibly win the next brutal round. Manager Kim states they will delay the official decision until the medical exam. He reveals a sinister plan to administer a covert drug test during the checkup. Director Yoon raises an eyebrow, while the assistant notes that if Seonwoo survives the second test, he becomes a prime candidate for the championship. The director asks if running a secret test on a refusing player violates the rules. The assistant smirks, explaining it's merely a compatibility check for doping, easily hidden. Director Yoon presses further, asking what happens if the test fails. The assistant replies coldly that a failure makes the boy useless, meaning they would simply discard him and initiate Plan B. Inside the medical bay, a high-tech treatment chamber hums beside glowing monitors. As the glass opens, a figure in a hazmat suit steps forward, a syringe glistening in hand. The assistant calculates that if they play their cards right, Seonwoo could reach the top 16 with just one more victory. Director Yoon summarizes the stakes. One more win pushes him into the top 32. With the massive influx of betting money, he could arguably be valued as a top 16 asset. The assistant nods in agreement. However, the director doubts the public will bet high on a fighter who looks like a walking corpse. The assistant counters that Seon-woo has won 2 rounds completely natural, a feat unheard of in a tournament where doping is the law. Reaching the top 62 drug-free has already caught the eye of the VIPs. One more win would trigger an avalanche of bets. Director Yoon dismisses the optimism, insisting the boy cannot win again without chemical aid, and suggests they pivot to a safer investment. The assistant argues that Seon-woo is smart. He likely already knows he needs the drug to survive and save his family. Director Yoon declares that if the boy's body rejects the drugs, he is to be disposed of immediately, regardless of potential. The assistant confirms he is already prepared to cut off the hospital payments and remove the security detail for Seon-woo's parents if he fails. His boss nods grimly, adding that Seon-woo won't be alive to hear the tragic news about his family anyway. The assistant announces the results are imminent. Director Yoon chuckles, noting the perks of having a secretary trained in the combat wing. He then looks at his subordinate, asking why he risks his life so boldly when the glory won't be his. The man replies that his life is on the line too. Yoon points out his own ambition is to oust his brother and seize the group, asking if the assistant understands. The assistant reveals his true obsession. He seeks to discover the ultimate human weapon within this arena, and he will sacrifice anything for it. He adds darkly that he is more than willing to sacrifice the lives of others to achieve his dream. Director Yoon sighs, admitting he actually admires that twisted passion. Suddenly, an agent bursts into the room, signaling it's time to move. The assistant demands the drug test results immediately. The agent hesitates, then reports something impossible. The boy showed absolutely no reaction. The assistant freezes, realizing the terrifying truth. The drugs don't work on Seon-woo. He is something else entirely. Yoon's fury erupts like a volcano. He barks orders to obliterate every trace of evidence, commanding his subordinates to sever all support for the target's parents. But then, a cold, ruthless realization strikes him. Why complicate things? It would be far simpler to just wipe them from the face of the earth. Meanwhile, inside the sterile silence of the recovery chamber, Seon-woo floats in deep, restorative slumber. Tension thickens in the combat wing's lobby. Dozens of warriors assemble, the air heavy with anticipation. Minho Kim scans the crowd, deducing that the 62 victors have finally been chosen. The man with glasses pushes up his frames, his sharp eyes catching a distinct absence. Seon-woo is missing. He quickly calculates that the boy must still be trapped in recovery. Probably for the best, Minho muses aloud. The carnage won't resume until every fighter is back at 100%. He notes it is the perfect chance for Seon-woo to heal. But his train of thought derails when he spots Amanda casually stretching nearby. She doesn't even look up as she speaks, her voice cool and detached. He looked exhausted from the very start. Minho Kim nods. Brutal clashes here usually guarantee broken bones and spilled blood, just like his own fight. But then, the realization hits him. 2 monsters in this room climbed to the top 62 without a single scratch. His gaze shifts to the man with glasses, locking onto a specific limb. That arm. That terrifying weapon. No one predicted a right arm capable of such devastation. The man offers a humble, mysterious smile. Honestly, I didn't know my body could mutate like that either. And then there was Amanda. Her opponent had foolishly declared he wouldn't use his arms against a woman, a fatal mistake. 1 strike, and his consciousness was deleted. Minho shudders at the memory. The knockout was so blindingly fast that his eyes couldn't even track. The mechanics. How exactly did she destroy him? Curiosity getting the better of him, Minho Kim leans in. Hey, mind sharing the secret behind that move? She turns, her eyes sharp as daggers. Why would I hand you a weapon? Amanda's logic is cold and flawless. You might be the next enemy standing across the ring from me. Suddenly, Mainan crashes the conversation. Hey, why am I being ignored? He puffs out his chest, bragging loud enough for the whole lobby to hear. Don't forget who secured the very first victory here. Before the bickering can escalate, a disembodied voice booms through the hall, congratulating the survivors on reaching the top 62. The stakes are raised instantly. The voice explains that one more victory grants a golden ticket. A chance to bypass the grind and jump straight to the top 16. Once they survive this round and reach the top 31, rankings will be decided by the betting pool. And for the monsters who survive the round of 16, a massive reward awaits 5% of the total bets as cold, hard cash. A roar erupts from the fighters. Greed and adrenaline flood the room at the promise of untold riches. The voice goads them deeper into hell. Risk your lives, bleed for the VIPs. Show them power that ignores the fear of injury. The atmosphere tightens as the announcement concludes. The matchups are about to be unveiled. Meanwhile, in the shadowed executive offices of the Hosen Group, the conspiracy deepens. Yuncha's patience wears thin. Do we have backups if Seo-nu fails? Go Yusun's assistant nods with sinister confidence. Absolutely. He slides a tablet forward, displaying a warrior radiating raw power. This is the perfect candidate. Yuncha narrows his eyes. Who is it? The answer chills the air. It is Seo-nu's next opponent, Ryo Icha. Back in the lab, Seo-nu's eyes snap open. He bursts from the chamber, gasping for air, a primal scream tearing from his throat. Mother. The cold sweat on his skin tells him the truth. That wasn't a nightmare. He heard every word. A figure in a hazmat suit mutters nearby, confirming the kill order on his parents if the drugs fail to trigger a reaction. Panic flares in Seo-nu's chest. He can't waste a single second. He has to break out of this hellhole now. In the combat wing director's office, tension hangs heavy. A doctor steps in for an urgent debriefing. The director wastes no time, demanding the results of Seo-nu's medical evaluation. The doctor hesitates, his expression grave yet fascinated. Sir, the results are unprecedented. He explains the anomaly. The subject possesses a trait that renders our enhancers obsolete. Seo-nu's bone density isn't just strong, it is 10 times higher than the human average. The director's jaw tightens in disbelief. Incredible. But the doctor isn't finished. There's more, sir. The director leans forward. Speak. His recovery speed defies biology. The doctor projects the data, his voice trembling with scientific awe. I corrected the logs. This isn't just healing, this is regeneration. The director freezes. This changes everything. Seo-nu is the key, the doctor insists. He could be the blueprint for the regeneration serum we've been hunting for. Grasping the boy's immense value, the director snaps a question. Have his parents been secured? The doctor flinches. I apologize, sir. Fury flashes in the director's eyes. Why did you fail? The doctor swallows hard. By the time our team arrived at the target location, someone else had already taken them. Back in the recovery room, Seo-nu jolts upright. His heart hammers against his ribs. If I don't get to them now, they're dead. He scans the room frantically. Nothing, not even a ventilation grate. It's a sealed steel coffin. Desperation fueling his strength, he lunges for the door, hunting for a weakness, an air duct, anything. Suddenly, the mechanism hisses. The door slides open to reveal a silhouette. A young woman steps in, her gaze dissecting him. Nice to finally see you up close. She introduces herself with an air of superiority. I am Cha Sun-young. Seo-nu growls, his aura flaring. Get the hell out of my way. She doesn't flinch. I wouldn't go looking for your parents if I were you. Seo-nu stops, confusion warring with his rage. Cha Sun-young smirks. Don't worry. I'm taking very good care of them. Miles away, in Yuncha's high-rise fortress, the atmosphere turns deadly. What do you mean? Yuncha demands, his voice low and dangerous. Someone beat us to Seo-nu's parents. The assistant bows nervously. They vanished without a trace, sir. Our intel suggests the combat wing intervened. The combat wing, Yuncha muses. The assistant nods. They are notorious for instantly erasing anything that threatens their operations. A twisted smile spreads across Yuncha's face. So, we didn't even have to dirty our own hands? He chuckles darkly. The goddess of luck is smiling on us today. His mood lifts, business resuming instantly. Have you made contact with the next fighter? Consider it done, the assistant assures him. Inside the combat wing, VVIPs hold the keys to the kingdom. We can summon fighters directly to our chambers and access anywhere except the forbidden zones. His assistant's voice trembled as he asked if they were truly walking straight into the monsters. Den, but Yucha didn't flinch. She confirmed the order with a cold nod, even as the man warned that wandering this wing was a death sentence. True safety existed only within the VVIP suite and back in the recovery room. Seong-yin locked the door, sealing them in. Sun-woo cornered her, demanding to know what she meant about handling his parents. But Seong-yin pressed a finger to her lips, commanding silence. She declared that fleeing now was futile, but Sun-woo slapped her hand away, his eyes blazing as he demanded the truth. Seong-yin revealed the nightmare scenario. Her brother, Un, was erasing every trace connecting him to Sun-woo, and his parents were the first loose ends to be cut. To make matters worse, the lone sharks he had pulverized were hunting him down with a vengeance. She explained she had risked coming alone to save his parents, but Sun-woo stared at her, asking who she really was and what she wanted. Seong-yin introduced herself, her eyes locking onto his as she pointed a finger at his chest and declared she needed him. Sun-woo was baffled, but she dropped the bombshell she was one of the elite 16 VVIPs, and she needed a champion to bet her fortune on. She admitted that despite her youth, she had been a titan of industry, one of the owners of the mighty Hosan Group until recently. To put it in terms he could grasp, she revealed her true identity as the half-sister of his former tormentor. She had been exiled from the group because of schemes, but since her own businesses were thriving, she didn't care about the title. However, Seong-yin's eyes hardened as she revealed the one line she wouldn't cross. She refused to let her brothers destroy her father's legacy, but Sun-woo cut in, asking what this corporate war had to do with his family. She explained that her family was a nest of vipers constantly spying on one another, and she had kept a close watch on her second brother. When she witnessed the extreme lengths her brother went to recruit Sun-woo, she investigated his parents to uncover the source of his interest. Seong-yin realized Sun-woo was a monster far beyond her expectations, and she couldn't allow her brother to monopolize such extraordinary genes. Sun-woo frowned, confused by the sudden mention of his genetics, but Seong-yin cut him off, warning that the only thing that mattered was the army of enemies currently hunting his parents. If running was suicide, he asked what she expected him to do, and she claimed there was only one path to salvation. Sun-woo asked for the solution, and Seong-yin delivered her ultimatum. He had to win. She laid out her master plan. She would bet everything on him winning the Combat Wing Championship, bankrupting her brothers and buying his parents' freedom. Sun-woo scoffed, questioning if the promise of a rich girl in a secret room held any weight at all. She countered instantly, explaining that in the Combat Wing, anyone who broke a contract faced immediate execution by the authorities. He narrowed his eyes, asking if she was truly willing to bet her own life on his fists. Seong-yin admitted she wasn't the only desperate one. Once the 16 finalists were chosen, the clock would start ticking. Any fighter not selected by a VIP would be disqualified. But Sun-woo demanded to know how he could trust a wealthy stranger with his parents' lives. She replied that no electronic devices were allowed inside, meaning she couldn't show him a live feed. There was nothing she could show him to prove it, but she insisted he should trust the one person who shared his parents' deepest secrets. She leaned in, revealing she knew the hidden truth about his parents' past and the origin of his terrifying power. Shocked, he demanded she tell him everything right now. But the door suddenly hissed open, and Seong-yin reminded him that she was the shield guarding his parents, so escape was unnecessary. A drone hovered into the room like a mechanical vulture, and she announced that their time was up. She offered one last reassurance, telling him to clear his mind and simply win by her side as she turned to leave. Meanwhile, in the gritty atmosphere of Dorm 10, the other fighters buzzed with excitement as one noted the prize money had skyrocketed. Staring at the massive ranking screen, he wondered aloud how a monster like Sun-woo was dead last. A younger fighter explained the logic. Sun-woo had been in the recovery room, and nobody wasted bets on damaged goods. The drone's voice echoed, announcing player Sun-woo Kang's return to room 10, and a man greeted him, surprised he looked so healthy. As the door sealed shut, the man commented on his recovery, but Sun-woo ignored the pleasantries, asking how the man won without taking damage. Sun-woo's voice cracked with desperation as he explained he had to make the top 16 or his family was doomed. He begged for knowledge, swearing he would do whatever it took, asking for help with a frantic intensity. He slumped, thinking it was too much to ask, until a woman stepped forward and suggested he needed a finishing move. She explained that without a signature killer move, dominating in the ruthless combat wing was impossible. The fighter asked for his specialty, and the older Mr. Kang grinned, suggesting he shatter his enemies with a devastating calf kick. He marvels at the sheer precision of the movement. Few warriors can control their legs with such lethal speed. His mind flashes back to the duel with Kai Xianyu checked a low kick with his bare shin, a testament to his bones of steel. As he demonstrates the technique, he breaks down the mechanics of destruction. The calf kick isn't just a nuisance. It is a finisher capable of crippling an opponent in a single breath. He turns to Xianyu, challenging him to replicate the devastating motion. *thwok, the force of the impact sends a shockwave through the room. He nods in approval, acknowledging that Xianyu possesses a terrifying natural talent. Suddenly, a thunderous boom from the ceiling shakes the dorm, cutting their conversation short. What in the hell was that? Far above them, rank 15, Ryo Icha, unleashes his Kyudo mastery, his punches sending tremors through the entire building structure. The scene shifts back to the dorms, where the war council continues. Yoon Seong urges Xianyu to master the calf kick. It is his ticket to survival and reclaiming the prize money. But Meinan steps out of the shadows, shaking his head. You've got it all wrong. Xianyu spins around, his eyes narrowing at the sudden interruption. Meinan scoffs, claiming the entire room is blind. Xianyu's true ultimate weapon isn't some low kick. He taps his own forehead ominously. It's this. He reminds them how Xianyu tanked a Lethwei champion's headbutt not once, but multiple times. Without flinching, Meinan delivers his verdict. The fact that Xianyu is still standing proves his skull is the hardest object in this tournament. Yoon Seong interjects, his voice grave. A headbutt is a double-edged sword. It destroys the user just as much as the victim. Against the monsters lurking in the combat ward, it is suicide. He warns that reliance on such a reckless tactic will lead to fatal brain damage. In less than 2 rounds, Meinan just chuckles, finding the concern amusing. Did you forget? We all signed our death warrants the moment we entered this hellhole. His expression darkens. Hesitate against the top rankers, and you're a corpse before you hit the ground. Meinan smirks, turning the tables. But you shouldn't be worrying about Xianyu right now. He reveals the grim truth he is talking about Yoon Seong's next opponent. The giant screen flickers to life, announcing the next bloodbath, Minsuhan vs. Yusik Park. Deep within the restricted sector, the atmosphere shifts. The director swipes through a fighter's profile on his tablet, his eyes cold and calculating. He murmurs to himself, noting that Minsu Han's physiological response to the experimental drug is nothing short of monstrous. Standing before a row of bubbling containment tanks, the director gloats. A doctor approaches nervously, only to hear the director whisper, "You must be so proud of your son." The doctor bows deeply, his voice trembling. "It is all possible thanks to your grace, director." He forces himself to believe it was the right choice, the only choice. His mind drifts back to the days before the combat ward, when he was just a desperate father coming home late to a tragedy. Back then, a cruel disease was eating his son alive, withering his muscles until the boy couldn't even stand without begging for help. He was a doctor, a healer, yet he stood powerless, a mere salaried employee watching his world crumble to dust. Just as despair threatened to consume him, a lifeline appeared. A cryptic message from the hospital director he had never met. He never expected the meeting place to be the crematorium. He was led down a hidden staircase, descending into the belly of the underworld. The corridor revealed a nightmare, row upon row of humans suspended in containment tanks. He had stepped into a new, twisted reality. Names of celebrities and renowned scientists lined the walls. But he didn't care about the politics or the *Y*. His eyes locked onto the date of the miraculous results of the drug trials. Tears streamed down his face as hope reignited. The director appeared behind him like a phantom, asking for his thoughts, while the doctor could only picture his dying son. Then came the devil's bargain. Bring your son. Let him be part of the experiment. He almost said yes instantly, but fear took over. He fled that place, running back to the only thing that mattered. But when he arrived home, he found his son, who had claimed to be fine that morning, attempting to end his own life. The doctor pulled him back from the brink, realizing his negligence. Cradled in his arms, the frail boy looked up with dead eyes. "Dad, just kill me." The words shattered the doctor's soul. There was no hope left in this house. With no other path to walk, he accepted the director's deal. Now, standing in the lab, he wonders if saving his son turned him into the true monster. Back in the brutal present, a drone buzzes overhead. Min-Soo Han enter the arena. The young man steals his nerves. The massive gates groan open, revealing the Coliseum where his opponent, Yusik Park, awaits. Yusik Park, a master of Krav Maga, radiates lethal intent. Opposite him, Min-Soo Han shifts into the stance of a Kali Arnis practitioner. The drone hovers between them, signaling the start of the carnage. Instant acceleration, they collide in the center. Min-Soo Han lashes out, targeting his opponent's right arm with surgical precision. The crowd gasps. Min-Ho Kim observes from the stands, shocked. Using knife fighting techniques in a bare-handed brawl. Even Yusik didn't see that coming. But something is wrong. Yusik's muscles ripple and contract, clamping down like a vice around Min-Soo's fingers. He is trapped. Yusik Park grins, crushing the trapped fingers with inhuman strength. "You got a little too close for comfort, didn't you?" With his free hand, the old man unleashes a thunderous slap. The wind force alone nearly taking Min-Soo Han's head off. Min-Soo Han is baffled by the old-timer's ferocity. But Yusik Park simply grins, praising the youngster's technique before promising to return the favor with interest. Yusik Park declares war, announcing he will unleash his signature knife-fighting arts. Watching from the VIP box, Acha is stunned, wondering who this unknown warrior is and how he is casually holding his own against the 9th-ranked monster, Min-Soo. The assistant drops the heavy exposition. Yusik isn't just some random brawler. He is a former elite bodyguard who mastered the lethal art of Krav Maga. Acha tilts her head, unfamiliar with the term Krav Maga. The assistant explains the grim history. It is a combat system forged by a Jewish soldier to protect his people. A martial art stripped of sportsmanship and focused entirely on real-world survival and brutal efficiency. He emphasizes that it is the ultimate weapon for close-quarters annihilation. Acha frowns, reasoning that if it is designed for protection, the attacks must be defensive and weak, making him a poor match for a killer like Min-Soo. But the assistant corrects her with a chilling thought. He suggests that perhaps the most effective method of protection is the total elimination of the threat. Yusik moves in, closing the distance. Min-Soo watches the approach with bored eyes, judging the old man's speed as pathetic. Yusik Park's strike tears through the air, missing Min-Soo's face by a hair. Min-Soo dances out of range, mocking his opponent for being too sluggish to touch him. Yusik tries to defend against the counter, but Min-Soo is a demon of speed. His fingers, hard as steel, pierce straight into Yusik's temple. Yusik swings a heavy arm to create space, but Min-Soo retreats effortlessly. Unwilling to let him escape, Yusik charges like a raging bull, determined to drag him into hell. Min-Soo laughs, taunting that such desperation is useless with a broken stance. Yusik ignores the insult, using his arm to launch off the ground, turning his body into a living missile. He collides with his target. The veteran fighter lands a devastating blow that slams Min-Soo violently into the arena floor. Min-Soo Han takes the full force of the impact to his face. Yusik pins him against the wall, raining down a storm of blows, but the monster merely smiles. Calling the effort futile, Min-Soo shoves him back after absorbing the hits. In a blur of motion, he strikes to lethal pressure points on Yusik's chest. He mocks the old man for thinking he had the upper hand. Min-Soo then unleashes a barrage of high-speed strikes, turning Yusik Park's body into a punching bag. Yusik Park gritted his teeth, forced to admit that his aging eyes can no longer track this demonic speed. Min-Soo delivers a bone-crushing final blow to the back. The sheer brutality of the assault leaves the other fighters in the waiting room frozen in shock. Min-Ho Kim watches in horror, wondering if this is the true power of a rank 9 predator. Even covered in wounds, Yusik Park refuses to fall, standing tall amidst the carnage. Min-Soo sneers, asking why the old man is clenching his fists and if he has abandoned his precious knife skills. Suddenly, Yusik Park spreads his arms wide, leaving his chest completely unguarded. Minsu is suspicious, wondering if this is a trap to grapple him. Minsu lunges forward, roaring that cheap tricks won't work on him and that the old man enters his grave today. He drives his fingers into Yusik Park's back once again. But then, in a shocking move, Yusik throws a powerful punch into his own stomach. Minho Kim gasps, confused by the self-harm. But Amanda sees the truth. He wasn't hitting himself. He was grabbing onto the intruder inside his body. She reveals the terrifying tactic. Yusik contracted his muscles to trap Minsu's fingers inside his own flesh, locking the enemy in place. Minsu screams, calling him a crazy old lunatic, but the trap is sprung. Yusik lands a haymaker that connects cleanly, sending Minsu flying through a glass window. Yusik Park pants heavily, knowing the beast isn't finished yet. He needs one more clean hit to end this nightmare. He realizes his right arm is shredded, the muscles torn beyond repair. But he has no choice. He must attack now, or it is game over. He charges forward with a roar, screaming that he only needs one strike. But his legs betray him, and Yusik stumbles mid-run. From the stands, Seo Nu Kang screams for his father to hold on. But on the ground, Yusik realizes he has bled too much. His arm refuses to lift. He mentally apologizes to his son for his weakness. But then, a spark of resolve ignites. He orders his body to move, pointing a trembling finger forward. But Minsu Han reveals his own deception. He is actually right-handed. He snaps a lightning-fast strike aimed directly at Yusik's skull. Seeing the death blow coming, Seo Nu Kang shrieks his father's name. In a last-ditch effort, Yusik blocks the attack by letting Minsu's fingers pierce through his own palm. Minsu sneers, congratulating him on the desperate defense. But his fingers are longer than the hand is thick. The tips punch through and strike the target anyway. Yusik Park coughs up a fountain of blood. His strength leaves him, and he collapses to the cold floor. Seo Nu screams for him. Minsu turns, shouting Seo Nu Kang's name with malice. He tells the boy to open his eyes and watch closely, because his father is about to die solely because of him. Minsu raises his hand for the execution. As life fades, Yusik recalls a memory of holding his son, telling him to rest, only for the boy to ask for just a little more time. Yusik Park thinks to himself that if he had only cherished those moments more, perhaps destiny would have taken a different path. Seo Nu Kang watches in despair, realizing this tragic end is the cost of the distance between him and his father. The boy wonders if redemption is possible. In his mind, Yusik reassures him, whispering that a true father would never leave his son behind in this cruel world. He vows that he will not die and abandon his boy. But reality is cruel. A drone hovers overhead, announcing Minsu Han as the victor. Minsu Han stomps his boot onto Yusik Park's unconscious head. He laughs maniacally, declaring how much he loves this twisted arena. Seo Nu snaps, leaping toward the monster. He rises, eyes burning with vengeance, facing down Minsu. High above, Minho Kim notices something strange. The security drones aren't shooting the intruder. He gambles on a dangerous theory. The security drones won't open fire as long as the violence doesn't escalate into a full-blown death match. The two warriors lock eyes, killing intent radiating between them. Seo Nu Kang screams at the enemy to remove his filthy foot, while Minsu sneers, daring him to come and move it himself. Seo Nu Kang charges, roaring for that punk to step away. But instantly, Kim Min-ho intercepts him, realizing they must stop this suicide run before it begins. Suddenly, Mainan tackles Seo Nu Kang from behind, locking him in a desperate embrace. Seo Nu thrashes like a wild beast, shouting for Mainan to let him go. Mainan grits his teeth, telling him to survive long enough to actually use the skills he was taught. Seo Nu continues to rage, demanding release. But Kim Min-ho steps in and delivers a heavy blow to shut him down. Mainan whispers that it's better for him to take a nap now than to die today. Slowly, Seo Nu's struggles cease as consciousness slips away. As the world fades to black, his heart cries out for Wusik. A memory surfaces from the haze. Wusik asking Seo Nu a favor, to watch over his son if the worst should happen. In the memory, Woo-sik smiles, hoping Seonu will befriend the boy and ensure he never wanders down a dark path. Seonu replies with a grin, acting as if such a promise was obvious from the start. He adds that there is still a mountain of wisdom he needs to learn from Woo-sik, so becoming friends with his son is just part of the deal. It's the only way to keep learning from the master. Laughing, Woo-sik grabs him in a headlock, calling him a cheeky punk for trying to exploit him even after they escape this hell. Snap back to the brutal present. Chill Han's boot ruthlessly crushes Park Woo-sik's head into the dirt. Nearby, the bodies of Seonu Kang, Kim Min-ho, and Mainan lie scattered and unconscious. Chill Han glares down at the devastation, scoffing at their pathetic condition. Suddenly, Amanda Grace steps forward, her voice ice cold. She tells him to walk away if he's finished showing off for Seonu, mocking his desperate need for the young man's attention. Chill Han's eyes narrow, asking if she has a death wish. But Amanda doesn't flinch, daring him to start a brawl and get gunned down by the security drones. She adds a chilling threat that she could just beat him to death herself. Chill Han finally lifts his boot off Woo-sik, sneering that her judgment day is coming and promising to slaughter them all eventually. With a final glare, the villain turns his back and stalks toward the exit. Amanda rushes to Park Woo-sik's side, shaking him desperately. He's alive. She screams for the medical team, commanding them to move with speed. She examines his injuries, her eyes widening as she realizes his left hand made the ultimate sacrifice. He had used his hand to deflect the fatal blow just inches from his heart. The medical team scrambles, lifting the broken warrior onto a stretcher. Elsewhere, Yuncha's assistant is shaking, calling Minsu an absolute monster. Yuncha demands to know the logic. How can mere fingers become lethal weapons? The assistant explains the terrifying science. Minsu's doping is unique. While most drugs pump up muscle mass, Minsu's formula rewrites his biology. In Minsu's case, the tendons, ligaments, and connective tissues have been hardened into organic steel. He concludes that in a real fight, this biological armor is far more lethal than even Seonu's enhanced skeletal structure. Yuncha's eyes light up with greed, asking why they haven't recruited him yet. The assistant sighs, explaining that Minsu is the director's personal pet untouchable. He quickly reassures his boss that the sea is full of monsters, pointing toward the fighters entering the next match. Yuncha raises an eyebrow, asking if he means that female capoeira specialist. The assistant nods. Yuncha scoffs, asking if capoeira isn't just a dance. The assistant corrects him immediately. It may look like a dance, but it is a dance of death. He dives into the history. The art was born in blood, when African slaves were dragged across the ocean. In Brazil, to survive oppression and chains, they forged a martial art disguised as rhythmic movement to fool their captors. It is not a martial art of joy or celebration, but one born from deep sorrow and excruciating pain. After Brazil's independence, it became so effective for criminal gangs that the government outlawed it entirely. It is a weapon of pure lethality. The spotlight hits the arena. Amanda Grace, ranked 19th, the master of capoeira, stands ready. A mechanical drone voice booms through the stadium, announcing the combatants for the next round. Her opponent is introduced, Hyuk-go, ranked 10th, a mixed martial arts powerhouse. The drone signals the start of the duel between Amanda Grace and Hyuk-go. Amanda drops into her fluid, rhythmic fighting stance. She frowns. He isn't moving. Is he looking down on her? Deciding to punish his arrogance, she launches the first strike with a spinning kick. Up in the VIP box, Yuncha waves his hand, tired of hearing about Amanda and her dance fighting. He shifts focus to the opponent, Hyuk-go. Being ranked 10th implies the man is a beast of a different caliber. The assistant explains the dark truth. Hyuk-go was a mediocre MMA fighter until he took the drugs here. Now, he possesses dynamic vision. They call him K10 seconds among the high rollers, and the betting odds on him are skyrocketing. Yuncha questions the strange moniker. The assistant grins. The man has won every single bout by knockout in under 10 seconds. Yuncha's jaw drops. That is godlike efficiency. The assistant adds that high-stakes gamblers love him because he ends fights without taking a single scratch. With the legend of his 10-second victories spreading, the hype surrounding him has reached a fever pitch. If he defends his title here, the prize money will be astronomical, and he'll vault instantly into the top 5 rankings. Tension suffocates the arena as Haikyuu waits for the bloodshed to commence. The drone buzzes overhead, announcing the match start, and the timer ticks to a single second. Haikyuu tracks Amanda's assault, arrogantly declaring his dynamic vision captures every movement. He raises a guard to block her strike, despite being caught off guard. But suddenly, his world spins. He stares at the floor in confusion, wondering why the ground is hugging his face. Defeat crushed him in mere moments. The digital timer freezes at exactly 10 seconds as Amanda stands triumphant over her fallen prey. The drone booms, declaring Amanda Glatch the victor. She coldly remarks that some techniques are simply too fast for human senses to process. In the VIP box, Yeon-soo-cha leaps to his feet, demanding an explanation. His assistant clarifies the fatal error. Haikyuu thought blocking a single kick would open the path for an offense. Yeon-soo-cha frowns, questioning the logic. That is the fundamental rule of combat. Block first, then counterattack. The assistant nods gravely, noting that Haikyuu made that exact same calculation. He explains the physics of violence. A knockout kick typically requires energy to be compressed on one side, then explosively released toward the target. If the initial strike fails, the attacker lacks the time to gather that kinetic energy again. The follow-up blow should be weaker than the counter, especially with both feet airborne. Without contact with the ground, there is no lever to compress and store that devastating power. Yeon-soo-cha points out the obvious. That was precisely Amanda's situation. Both her feet had left the earth, and her first attack had missed its mark. His assistant confirms this is exactly why Haikyuu launched his immediate counter. But he pauses for dramatic effect. There was one critical factor Haikyuu overlooked regarding Amanda Glatch. Yeon-soo-cha demands to know what it is. The assistant reveals the secret. Capoeira utilizes the entire body as a lever. Furthermore, Amanda was injected with a powered drug that increases muscle density rather than size. He declares that currently, Amanda can unleash strikes of catastrophic speed and power from any position, defying the laws of physics. Because of this unnatural enhancement, her true combat potential is terrifyingly unknown. Yeon-soo-cha smirks, remarking that some useful pawns still exist in this game. However, his assistant warns that securing a meeting with her has now become nearly impossible. Yeon-soo-cha asks for the reason. The assistant explains that by knocking out the 10-second fighter in 10 seconds, she has effectively inherited his legendary title. The flood of money and the obsession of the VVIPs who bet on him will now shift entirely to her. Yeon-soo-cha scoffs, asking if his assistant is incapable of handling a little competition. But the assistant remains calm, assuring him there is no need for haste. The roster is full of monsters. Yeon-soo-cha asks if the next contender is also a rank 4 fighter, and receives a confirmation. The assistant promises the upcoming match will be a spectacle, as the fighter has been backed into a corner where he must give his absolute all. Elsewhere, Min-ho Kim stirs. A voice greets him, noting he is finally awake. Seon-yu Kang scrambles to his feet, panic in his voice as he asks what is happening. He demands to know why they are in this place. The young man starts asking for Sheik, but cuts himself off, confused by the situation. Amanda Glatch leans against the doorframe. Min-ho notes he is alive, and she asks if he is finished resting, stating she could hear the rhythm of his breathing. Amanda warns Min-ho that his match is approaching fast. She suggests he should be warming up his body for war. He replies that he knows. His eyes darken as he realizes his opponent might be the very reason he entered this hell. A flashback plays. A man promising to help him find his brother's murderer in the ring. Min-ho Kim had asked how he could possibly identify the killer without even a name. The man had replied with a lead. They know the target entered the combat wing and is a former professional boxer. He promised more details later, but emphasized one fact. There are very few ex-boxers in the combat wing. Back in the arena, the spotlight hits Wan-yu Choi, ranked 16th and a specialist in boxing. Meanwhile, the assistant begins profiling the 5th-place monster. Holding 5th place is Lee, a master of Systema currently working as a Russian bodyguard. His resume includes a stint in the Special Forces. Dark rumors circulate that he permanently eliminated anyone foolish enough to threaten his clients. During that violent period, he was investigated for excessive force after slaughtering 8 assailants, forcing his employer to cut ties. However, fate intervened. A short time later, a man rehired him as a bodyguard and gifted him a brand new identity. The benefactor who offered this second chance and dragged him to this arena was Michael Lee, the head of the military contractor P1. Hearing this, Yin Su-cha comments coldly that without a connection of that caliber, the man would be worthless trash. The assistant adds another terrifying detail. After consuming the stamina drug, Lee gained the ability to move without limits, propelling him into the top 5. Moving down the list, the assistant introduces the 4th-ranked fighter, mentioning his deep ties to Chairman Sang Soo-han. Connected to the country's largest construction empire, Jeong Ho-go, ranked 4th, is a lethal specialist in combat taekwondo. He grew up idolizing his father, a legendary master of the art. Yet, destiny twisted, leading him down a different, darker path. Yin Su-cha raises an eyebrow, questioning if taekwondo isn't merely a sport designed for point-scoring competitions. In response, the assistant references a documentary that assembled masters of various martial arts to measure the raw destruction of their kicks. According to the data, most of the strikes registered a bone-shattering force between 900 and 1,500 pounds. However, the capoeira kick slammed home with 1,900 pounds of force, stunning the entire room. Next up, the final martial art to be tested was the pride of the nation, taekwondo. In a split second, the impact sensor screamed, registering a bone-shattering 2,300 pounds. Won-cha stood there, his eyes wide in total disbelief. The assistant quickly adds that Kyung-ho is a grandmaster of combat taekwondo. In this entire wing, absolutely no one can rival his raw destructive power. Moving on, he introduces the fighter ranked 3rd, Ryan, a doping addict handpicked by the president of CT Bio himself. Driven by a mad obsession with strength, Ryan subjected himself to nightmarish experiments. He even had steel fused directly onto his skeleton. But the constant cocktail of drugs rotted his mind. Now, he is nothing more than a mentally unstable weapon of war. Sitting at rank 2 is Jerma, a wanted criminal hired by Dong Soo Park. His presence terrifies Won-cha, who cannot fathom how a monster like that only took 2nd place. The assistant lowers his voice, explaining that this fighter is a ghost. Very little is known about his past, but one terrifying fact is public knowledge. He is a psychopath who entered the tournament solely to satisfy his bloodlust without police interference. His combat style is so overwhelming. Most of his victims crossed the river of death before they even realized the fight had started. Trembling, Won-cha exclaims that they have gathered a collection of absolute monsters. The assistant grimly replies that the true abomination is the #1 ranked fighter, the former champion. Hearing this, Won-cha demands to know who holds the throne. But before the answer can leave his lips, the reinforced doors are obliterated. Through the dust steps a giant. Stunned, Won-cha stammers, asking for his identity. The behemoth apologizes, claiming he simply cannot control his own godlike strength. This is K, a Gurkha mercenary and the undisputed king of the rankings. Panic sets in. Won-cha screams for a guide as security drones immediately swarm K, locking on with high alert status. Suddenly, another figure strides in, mocking the scene. Won-cha freezes, instantly recognizing the newcomer as his own brother. Executive Director Ik Hyun-cha sneers, asking if Won-cha really thought he could win this war. Won-cha snaps back, reminding him of their bet and telling him to start packing his bags. But Ik Hyun just laughs, calling him a fool for staking his position at the company on a mere student. Won-cha flinches, the taunt cutting deep into his pride. His brother leans in with a final warning about breaking a certified bet. He smirks, wishing Won-cha luck with his little kid fighter, before leaving with K trailing behind him. Won-cha explodes with rage. He screams at his assistant, demanding a solution and ordering him to find a warrior capable of crushing K. But doubt creeps in. He wonders if it is too late, and if the champion must strictly come from the current top 5 rankings. The assistant hesitates, admitting the odds favor the top ranks, but reminds him that in the arena, nothing is absolute. He explains that the experimental drugs are volatile. Because of this chaos, a true contender could rise from the shadows of the top 16. It might take time for the chemical evolution to complete, but he insists that is exactly the kind of wildcard they need. Desperate, One-Shy asks for names. The assistant reveals he has already identified 5 potential dark horses. The first is Ryo, who is scheduled to clash with Xianwu. Beside him, he lists the formidable Amanda and the judo master Wu Gangju. Finally, the last 2 candidates are about to face each other in the ring right now. The boxing underdogs, Minho Kim and Won-Woo Choi. Inside the arena, the tension is suffocating. Minho Kim stares down Won-Woo Choi, asking a single, heavy question. Do you know a man named Min-Sung Kim? Won-Woo holds his guard, feigning ignorance. He sneers, asking how he should know some random nobody. That answer snaps something inside Minho. Rage floods his system as he screams that he knows his brother, and he sacrificed everything just to find him. Minho launches a piston-like straight punch, smashing into Won-Woo's face. He roars, demanding the truth. Another blow connects with devastating accuracy, sending his opponent skidding back. Won-Woo spits blood, reeling from the force. Minho grabs him by the collar, screaming, "Why did you do it?" He delivers a brutal kick to the face, launching Won-Woo violently against the concrete wall. Minho stalks forward like a predator, but Won-Woo, lying broken on the floor, simply mutters, "That's enough." Minho pauses, confused. Slowly, Won-Woo rises from the debris. A twisted smile forms as he explains he needed to take a beating to jumpstart the drugs in his veins. Won-Woo wonders aloud if the speed drug has evolved. Minho throws a punch, but hits nothing but air. In a flash, a kick slams into his skull. Won-Woo is a blur. He attacks again, dodging every counter with supernatural reflexes, taunting Minho to come back and fight. Cold sweat runs down Minho's back. No matter how fast he moves, he cannot find an opening. Won-Woo materializes right in front of him, confirming his theory is correct. Minho manages to land a desperate clean hit, but Won-Woo just laughs, declaring it was his maximum speed. The villain grabs Minho's head, crushing his grip. With a terrifying scream, Minho is hurled across the arena, rolling like a ragdoll. Won-Woo dusts himself off. He admits getting beaten was risky, but the high-grade drug effects are absolutely exquisite. He looms over his fallen prey. He tells Minho to stay still so the ref can call the match, deciding he has no choice but to kill him right here. As darkness closes in, Minho remembers his brother's voice. When you think it's all over, take one last, deep breath. With his brother's memory fueling him, he knew this was his final chance. Minho's heart hammers against his ribs like a war drum. Won-Woo Choi barely leaps back in time to dodge the lethal strike. Minho lands with devastating force, spider-webbing the concrete beneath his boots. Won-Woo watches in horror, wondering if pain only serves to make this monster stronger. Without hesitation, Minho launches forward, a blur of raw power. Won-Woo realizes instantly he has to move at maximum velocity just to survive. He throws himself sideways in a desperate evasion, but Minho intercepts him mid-air, a predator catching its prey. Won-Woo freezes. There is nowhere left to run. "Why did you kill my brother?" Minho roars. His fist connects with the force of a freight train. The impact drives Won-Woo into the floor, shattering the arena foundation completely. Watching from the shadows, the director of the combat wing smiles. Magnificent. The second transformation has begun. Dust settles over the crater. Won-Woo Choi coughs up blood. Minho Kim steps through the debris, demanding the truth one last time. "Why did you do it?" Won-Woo gasps for air, admitting the truth. Mong was murdered. Yes, but he looks Minho in the eye. "But how could I kill a legend I admired?" Every boxer knew the champion. Won-Woo chokes out. The man who held the world record. He was untouchable. Then who? Minho screams. Won-Woo's eyes roll back. There's an addict, one who hunts only champions. His voice fades as consciousness slips away. "Name him," Minho yells, shaking the unconscious fighter. But it's too late. The drone overhead blares. Won-Woo Choi is unable to continue. The match concludes. Winner, Minho Kim. A holographic notification pings the betting pool has just skyrocketed. High above in the VIP suite, Cha watches the tablet screen, mesmerized. This kid, Manhwa, he is absolutely incredible. The assistant trembles. A second transformation without stimulants, sir. The director nods. Finally, the results of our experiments are bearing fruit. He narrows his eyes. They haven't reached the apex yet. They are not at the level of the first transcendent from 20 years ago. But some are reaching 80% compatibility. The director stares at the data. We've used the first transcendent's genes as a base ever since he vanished. He sighs, looking into the void. Where did you go, you legendary monster? Meanwhile, deep in the training sector, Steel groans. Seo Nu Kang kicks a reinforced door wide open. He is drowning in sweat, pushing past the brink of exhaustion. Further, he growls. Mainan leans against the wall, unimpressed. Hey kid, why not take a breather? Trying to demolish the gym, Mainan asks. Keep this pace up, and you'll pass out before the opening bell even rings. Seo Nu glares, his eyes burning with determination. To defeat the monsters in this place, I must become one myself. Flashback to Yusik Park's teachings. Muscles pushed to absolute failure recover stronger than steel. But the key is sleep. Split your day, the master had said. Train to death, then deep sleep. Do it twice a day. That is the only way to evolve twice as fast as the rest of the world. But be warned, the voice echoed. You need a godlike recovery factor. Back in the present, Seo Nu gasps. Twice isn't enough. Mainan raises an eyebrow. Sleeping again? But Seo Nu ignores him, unstrapping the massive weights from his ankles. He grabs a heavier set. Iron slams against the floor. Mainan shouts, I told you to prepare for death, not actually kill yourself. Seo Nu climbs into the recovery pod, eyes heavy but fierce. Cycle 3. I trust my body to handle the impossible. Mainan shakes his head. 3 hellish sessions a day, and he thinks 3 naps will fix him? A smirk creeps onto Menon's face. But if he actually pulls this off, things are going to get very interesting. A drone hovers down. Combatant Mainan. Enter the main arena. Mainan cracks his neck. About time. Give me someone worth hitting. In the arena, a giant lands. Wu Gangju, the judo specialist. Up in the box, Cha frowns. Is this guy one of the top 5 seeds? The assistant nods rapidly. Yes, sir. His grip strength is chemically enhanced. It's beyond human. He doesn't just grab, the assistant explains. He crushes muscle and bone instantly. Opponents lose the will to fight before they hit the ground. But the real terror is his judo. Once he executes a throw, the victim's skeleton simply shatters. Cha points to the other corner, and his opponent, Mainan, rank 45, seems like fodder. Actually, sir, the assistant hesitates. We have 0 data on him. Cha looks up, surprised. What? Recruited directly by the combat wing. No background. No martial arts history. And the effects of his enhancement drug, unknown. Center stage. Mainan licks his arm, a feral look in his eyes as the announcer calls his name. Rank 15, the Bone Crusher, Wu Gangju. The bell rings. Wu Gangju sneers at the smaller man. Let's not drag this out. 1 blow is all I need. Mainan sidesteps the massive lunge with lazy ease. Sure thing, big guy. In a blink, he vanishes, reappearing directly behind Wu. Your back is wide open. But Wu spins, his massive hand clamping onto Mainan. Gotcha. 1 point. Wu slams Mainan down with earth-shattering force. The floor explodes, but when the dust clears, it's Wu Gangju embedded in the arena wall. Cha screams, what just happened? The assistant drops his tablet, pale with shock. I knew he was strong, but I didn't expect instant domination. The drone's mechanical voice pierced the arena match over. Wu Gang was utterly broken, unable to stand. His unconscious body hit the floor with a heavy thud. Victory belonged to Ma Nan. Watching from above, Director Chai Kyan couldn't believe his eyes. What the hell just happened? Why is Wu Gang in that state? His assistant trembled, beads of sweat forming. I have no idea, sir. We've never seen anything like this before. Sprawled on the floor, Ma Nan gasped for air. Xianyu should be waking up soon. Let's see if he's well cooked or burnt to a crisp. Meanwhile, The seal on the recovery capsule hissed open. Xian Yu's eyes snapped open. Had the training worked? He forced himself up. Success or failure didn't matter now. He had only one path forward. His mind raced with dark thoughts. Was his mother truly safe? And that woman? Could he really trust a word she said? One thing was certain. He needed to confront that bastard scout. Right on cue, a drone descended. Player summoned. The scout demands your presence. Inside the private room, Director Ch's assistant smirked. Take off the blindfold. It's been a while, hasn't it? Xian Yu didn't hesitate. He slammed the man against the wall, gripping his collar. Calm down, the scout sneered. Kill me, and you get nothing. I have nothing left to lose. Xian Yu roared. Start talking. His voice trembled with suppressed rage. Do you know where my parents are? Answer me. The assistant's eyes gleamed with malice. Of course I know. In fact, I'm the one taking care of them right this second. Don't lie to me, Xian Yu screamed. I heard that voice in the recovery room. They talked about disposing of my parents. The man shrugged, feigning innocence. Sure, the VIP ordered the hit, but I reported them as missing instead. I kept them alive. He shoved Xian Yu's hand away, dusting off his suit. I've already bet everything. On you, Xian Yu. Even the VVIP will have to respect my judgment when you win. Xian Yu started to speak of the woman's warning, but the scout cut him off. Think, kid. That voice you heard, do you really think it was one of my agents? You heard about their death the moment you woke up, exactly after a woman named Seo Yun visited you. He leaned in close, his voice dripping with manipulation. Do you honestly believe that was just a coincidence? She's a liar, a manipulator. That's why her own father exiled her from the company, to protect his two sons from her poison. Don't take me for a fool. Xian Yu spat. She knew things about them. Proof? The scout challenged. Did she show you any actual proof? Xian Yu froze. She hadn't. How about this then? The man asked. He slowly rolled up his sleeve. Ink marred his skin. Son, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Xian Yu's breath hitched. It was his mother's handwriting. Look at the date. The assistant pressed. I was with her today. Handwriting can be forged. Xian Yu countered, desperate. Believe what you want, the man said coldly. But let me tell you my strategy. To make the boss look at you again. I hyped up your opponent's skills to keep the spotlight on you. If you crush him, Director Cha has no choice but to accept you. Win this, and all your problems vanish. Xian Yu clenched his fist. Who is the next opponent? The arena gates opened. A dark presence stepped onto the Matrio Ichika. Up in the VIP box, the assistant whispered, Seo Yun doesn't care about the championship. She only wants to burn her brother's plans to the ground. She has no reason to save your parents, Xian Yu. If you don't fight for us, you lose the power to protect them forever. Xian Yu's mind fractured. The scout, the woman, who the hell could he trust? But doubt was a luxury he couldn't afford. If he didn't crush Ryo Ichika right now, everything was meaningless. Go Wuxian swirled his wine, eyes gleaming. When Xian Yu gets eliminated, the look on Seo Yun's face will be a masterpiece. Seo Yun didn't flinch. We'll see who's laughing when the blood dries. Down below, Ryo Ichika settled into a lethal stance. Xian Yu analyzed him instantly. That stance, a low calf kick, is his weakness. Xian Yu lunged, but Ryo was faster. He fired a kick first. Xian Yu dodged a counter, but it was a trap. Ryo's hand clamped onto his leg like a vice. Slam! Ryo buried him into the mat and rained down punches. Xian Yu desperately rolled, barely escaping the crushing blows. Go Wuxian's eyes widened. Grappling. I thought he was a pure striker. Ryo Ichika has no limits. Sir, his assistant corrected. This is Kyudo. They master striking, throwing, and joint locking until it's instinct. They train headbutts. They train groin strikes. What you call unfair, they call survival. Fighting Ryo in close quarters isn't a match. It is absolute hell. He is a weapon made of bone and brutality. The fighters locked eyes in the center of the carnage. Ryo studied his prey. But in Xian Yu's eyes, there was zero fear. Xian Yu threw a straight punch. Ryo weaved effortlessly and exploded with a counter kick. Bam! The shin dug deep into Xian Yu's ribs. The impact sent Xian Yu crumbling to the floor. Go Wuxian smirked, victorious. It's over. The boy is finished, but Ryo froze. Something was wrong. Lying broken on the ground. Why was his opponent smiling? Lying battered on the ground, Seonu just flashes a chilling smile. Ryo snaps, roaring that he will wipe that grin off his face forever as he charges in. Seonu clings to him like a leech. Ryo scoffs at the desperate struggle, warning that he has more than just strikes in his arsenal. He moves to grapple, but suddenly Seonu sinks his teeth deep into Ryo's thigh. "You crazy bastard," Ryo screams. He drives a brutal elbow straight into Seonu's spine to force him off. "Do you think you are some kind of wild animal?" He spits. Seonu slowly lifts his head, his eyes burning with a feral intensity. Ryo answers that glare with a devastating kick to the face. The impact is so heavy it drags Seonu's body across the cold arena floor. Ryo hesitates. Did he let this guy get inside his head? He realizes his kick lacked power because his stance was compromised. He looks down at the bleeding bite mark on his thigh. Is this guy actually a beast? Ryo wonders, shaken. Watching from the sidelines, Go Yusung cannot believe his eyes, shouting, "What the hell is happening down there?" His assistant adjusts his glasses, noting grimly, that is Seonu. He is a fighter completely unshackled by rules. Seonu drags himself toward Ryo again. Ryo tenses, thinking, does he really believe that cheap trick will work twice? Is he going for my leg again? "I won't fall for it," Ryo shouts, preparing to crush him. But instead of biting, Seonu launches a lightning-fast kick straight to Ryo's head. Go Yusung gasps, recognizing the motion. That is a capoeira technique. Flashback to the training hall. Seonu stands before Amanda, asking her to use her deadliest capoeira moves on him. He points a thumb at his own chest, his face serious. "Hit me. I need to feel it." "Are you looking down on capoeira?" Amanda asks, annoyed. She spins, unleashing a whip-like kick directly to his skull. Seonu crashes to the mat. Amanda looks down, realizing the truth. You have a talent for copying any technique, but only after you have taken the hit yourself." Back in the blood-soaked arena, that same stolen technique connects. Seonu's heel smashes into Ryo's face. Balancing on one hand, Seonu defies gravity, launching himself upward. Go Yusung screams. It is a groin kick aimed right at his face. Unbelievable. Ryo catches the leg, stunned by the movement. How does a human move like this? But before he can react, Seonu snaps his other leg around for another headshot. The force sends Ryo hurtling through the air, crashing hard onto the floor. But Seonu does not stop. He stalks forward like a predator. "My body is moving exactly how I pictured it," Seonu thinks. One more calf kick ends this. Ryo scrambles up, resetting his fighting stance. Ryo admits he underestimated Seonu's chaotic style. Fine, he thinks, his eyes darkening. "If you want to act like a beast, I will hunt you like one." Ryo explodes forward. Seonu's eyes widen. His opponent's speed has just jumped to a terrifying new level. Seonu tries to dodge and counter, but he is too slow. Ryo slams a brutal headbutt into him, sending Seonu stumbling back. Before he can recover, Ryo buries a heavy fist into Seonu's gut. The impact shudders through his bones. "Focus," Seonu screams internally. Ryo grabs him by the collar, snarling, "I won't leave a single organ intact." He unleashes a machine gun volley of punches into Seonu's torso. Sensing the end, Ryo winds up and delivers a catastrophic finishing kick to the body. Seonu goes limp. Ryo exhales, convinced his prey is finally unconscious. It is over. Go Yusung cheers wildly. He is finished. It is over for Seonu. But Cha Sun-young smirks. If the rumors are true, this is just starting. Suddenly, a hand clamps onto Ryo's arm. "It changes nothing," Ryo yells, winding up for the kill. Seonu interrupts him with a savage headbutt of his own. He practiced headbutts too, Ryo thinks, dazed. He shakes it off as Seonu shuffles toward him, refusing to stay down. He moves less like a beast and more like a monster now, Ryo observes. But I definitely ruptured his organs. He is running on fumes. It must be the adrenaline masking the pain. Just one block, and I win. Seonu lunges in with a desperate kick. Ryo catches the leg easily. "I got you," he roars. Suddenly, Seonu tears a chunk of fabric from his own pants, catching Ryo off guard. He flings the cloth over Ryo's face. I can't see. Ryo panics. Seized by darkness, he leaves himself wide open as Seonu strikes. I can't dodge, Ryo realizes. I have to tank the hit. Seonu's kick shatters Ryo's shin, but as he falls, Ryo snaps a kick into Seonu's leg in retaliation. Go Yusung shrieks. His leg. It is completely snapped. Yet Seonu grabs him again. How are you still moving? Ryo gasps in horror. This is the end for you. Ignoring his broken bones, Seonu drives one final kick into Ryo's remaining good leg. Both fighters collapse to the bloodied floor in a heap. Silence falls. Then the announcer's voice booms. Ryo is unable to continue. The winner is Seonu Kang. Go Yusung slams his fist in frustration, but Cha Sun-young smiles, her eyes gleaming. This insanity is exactly why I like him. Go Yusung points frantically at the screen. Look, Seonu is out cold too. Shouldn't this be a double knockout? Go Yusung's assistant shakes his head calmly. No, look closely. Seonu isn't knocked out. He is simply sleeping. Sleeping or not, Cha Sun-young says. Checking the data, this is bad. The screen shows the betting odds. Just as I feared. No one is putting money on him. Who would bet on a fighter with broken legs? The assistant notes. The top 16 qualifiers are decided strictly by total wager amounts. He points to the leaderboard. Seonu is dead last. If the top 16 are locked in right now, before he wakes up to pick a VVIP sponsor, he is finished. You need to find a new fighter, Sun-young. Sun-young turns to her assistant, demanding to know exactly how much capital she currently has available. The sudden question catches him completely off guard. If the crowd refuses to bet on him, she will force the issue herself. Sun-young Cha declares her strategy with cold precision. She will single-handedly push him to the summit using the sheer power of her wealth. Her assistant trembles, warning that she risks losing her entire fortune in one go. But Sun-young cuts him down instantly. The game is starting, and she is done talking. High above, a mechanical drone buzzes to life. It announces the briefing for the next round, summoning the 31 victorious players to attention. A swarm of drones descends over the bloodied fighters gathered in the arena. Minho Kim's gaze drifts to Seonu, who remains collapsed on the cold floor, unmoving. Hesitation grips Minho. Should he wake his fallen comrade before the critical briefing begins? A massive screen flickers on, revealing a mysterious figure. He welcomes the 31 survivors and introduces the 16 VVIPs joining the fray. The camera pans to the private luxury boxes, displaying the elite, including Sun-young Cha herself. The rules are cruel and simple. The figure announces that survival depends on value. The top 16 qualifiers will be determined solely by the amount of money bet on each player. Tension spikes as a timer appears on the screen. 30 seconds remain. It is a frantic race to place the final bets before destiny is locked. Sun-young barks a sharp question. She needs to know the exact financial gap between Seonu's current total and the fighter clinging to the 16th spot. Her assistant stammers the reply. The difference is to $1,000,000,000 and climbing fast. Without hesitation, Sun-young commands him to dump every last cent she possesses onto Seonu right now. He screams a warning. That is for $1,000,000,000 at stake. If Seonu fails to crack the top 16, that massive fortune vanishes into thin air. Desperate, the assistant begs her to abandon Seonu and back a safer fighter immediately. But Sun-young Cha remains ice cold, ordering him to place the bet at once. He dares to question her motives, asking why she would go this far. Her composure cracks. She spins around and screams at him to just place the damn bet. The timer hits 0. Betting is closed. Silence descends on the private box as mistress and servant await the judgment of fate. The deed is done. The assistant reports the transfer, but his voice shakes. She has already spent a fortune controlling her brothers. Why risk total ruin now? Sun-young ignores his fear. She asks only one thing. What is Seonu's current betting rank? The assistant explains that the leaderboards were masked during the final countdown. Sun-young realizes they are flying blind. They must wait for the official reveal. The figure returns to the screen, voice booming. The new rankings are finalized. The reveal begins with the elite top 5 fighters. The screen flashes the names of the high rollers. Cam, Ryan, Jaiho, Gola, and Tim Ma dominate the top spots. Minho Kim stares in shock at the lineup. He notes with a sinking feeling that there are still formidable boxers remaining in the pool. The tension ratchets up as the announcer prepares to unveil the next tier of survivors. Names flash across the display. Wu Gangju, Amanda Groh, Yuxian Go, Kenda, and Meinan take ranks 6 through 10. Seeing Amanda in 7th, panic sets in for Minho. Will he even make the cut? The announcer wastes no time, moving swiftly to the next batch of names. Miguel, Bishop, Sun Bum, Carl, and Ricardo secure ranks 11 through 15. Sun Young's assistant is on the verge of collapse. There is only one single spot remaining. The figure on the screen pauses for dramatic effect before announcing the 16th ranked player. He reveals the total bet was 4.6 billion won, described as the legendary former Street Fighter. The screen displays the face of the final winner, Bansho Gu. In the VIP box, Sun Young's assistant stares at the screen, his face twisted in absolute horror at the final result.